Are we live? Yeah. Hey, boo. This is Nika, and I am pleasantly unbothered. Thank you so much for joining me for day 17 of October. This is my sister, T, as promised. So, we're going to have a little girl chat in a minute, but I figured I'd start with the power phrases for the Confidence Booster Challenge. Okay. So, I am beautiful, I am sexy, I am desirable. I am supported, I am valued, I am loved. There is so much more to me than my appearance. It is my right and responsibility to show up in this world exactly as I am. I have made it through 100% of my toughest days, and I will not stop. I appreciate my intelligence, intuition, and emotional awareness. I love my unique sense of style and the way that I present myself. I am peaceful, I am calm, I am pleasantly unbothered, you know. I am worthy of everything that I desire for myself. I love my own personal brand of sexiness and how attractive I've grown to become. I am grateful for my body and all that it has allowed me to do. I am capable of even more than I could ever imagine. I believe in my ability to inspire others and impact the world in my own unique way. By being kind to myself and others, I am encouraging others to do the same. I am loyal, I am supportive, I am understanding. I am worthy of happy, healthy, positive relationships. I am a great mom, and I do the best that I can for my daughter every single day. And it's as simple as that. Day 17 of the challenge is down. If you are joining me for the challenge, I hope that you are enjoying it so far. I can't believe how quickly time has gone and that we're already past the halfway point. But it almost feels like it's been so fast and so slow at the same time. So I'm a little bit torn on that. But I hope that you're enjoying it and that you'll see it all the way through. And so for today's girl chat, I figured that we would kind of continue on. Hey, Roxy. I figured that we'd continue on with the conversation that we were having last time about dating and relationships, especially in today's world. Things seem to be, I don't want to sound negative or pessimistic, but it seems like they're getting worse and worse. And from hearing from all of you about the experiences that you're having, it seems like that's kind of an accurate statement, unfortunately. And as I mentioned before, my sister's been in a relationship for a really long time. So I thought it might be cool to have her perspective on things, how she feels about the dating scene based on what she's heard about it. And if, God forbid, she had to re-enter the dating scene at some point, what she thinks things might be like, what she might do, what her preferred methods of doing it might be, and that kind of thing. And so, T, have you ever thought about if, again, God forbid, you ended up single, if you would consider doing something like online dating or getting on or getting on Tinder or all the OK Cupids and what was that one we were watching on Catfish? Oh, Plenty of Fish. Remember that Catfish story where the girl kept meeting people on Plenty of Fish and she was just getting catfish and having multiple negative experiences like back to back. Like, have you ever thought about if that's a route you would go, if you ever had to consider meeting someone again or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
No?
And for that reason, catfish. Like, I want to see who I'm talking to.
Right.
Like, you're not going to build me up with all this positive stuff, making me feel like, okay, I think I'm really going to be attracted to this person.
Right.
And then I see you and you're not my type.
Roxy said that site is awful. I feel you. And that's the tricky thing too, because there's this phenomenon, I don't know if it's really a phenomenon, but this thing these days that they call love bombing, where someone will try to get you attached to them and get you to like them more by being overly, maybe not aggressive, but really, really forward and moving really fast with the compliments, with the affection. A week after you met them, all of a sudden you're the person of their dreams, even though they may not know you that well yet. Sometimes they start calling you my dear or honey or sweetie or something on the third day that you're talking to them, and you don't even know them yet, but they're doing these things as a way of getting you to feel familiar with them, so that they can get you attached and get you hooked, all for whatever purpose they have, whether it's to sleep with you or to try to use you for something or take advantage or whatever the case is. But
and then 2 weeks in, you find out they married with kids.
Boom, boom. That's exactly it.
They be trying it these days.
They
You
really
can't
do.
just be. That's the thing. They try to tell you, oh, it's complicated, or I'm single, or and they telling their wife something totally different, or they giving you both the same story.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you gotta be really careful with these people. These guys will lie to you. They'll lie to your wife. They'll lie to their baby mom, and y'all will all think that y'all the one and only. It's crazy.
Right. It is really crazy. Yeah. And that's the thing too. One of the things I'm hearing often is that he's living, like the man someone's talking to is living with the woman, but he says it's just his roommate or something like that. Meanwhile, they're sleeping in the same bed. They're probably intimate together and all that stuff, but this is a convenient story that he can use to explain why things always have to happen at her house, or why she can't come over as a guest or anything like that. And Roxy asked if we think that online dating has ruined dating. That's a good question. I don't know if it's ruined it. I think that it has made it more convenient in certain ways for people to meet each other who might not otherwise meet, because that's another thing too. You say that you won't, like, you're not down for online dating, which I feel you, but I'm also hearing that people aren't meeting in the typical way these days.
Right.
Like, it's harder for you to just encounter someone that you really like out and about, like the good old days when you happen to meet someone, whether you're out with friends or out at a party or whatever. And I'm hearing that happens less and less. So I wonder how many options there are other than online dating. And I think one of the things it's done that has negatively impacted dating is that it gives so many people the sense of having endless options that they almost become too picky, and they feel like no one is good enough because they're always trying to find someone else that's out there. You know, if Tinder has millions of people and this person seems nice, but they're only one of millions that I can talk to, why should I actually invest the time and energy into getting to know them when I can keep swiping and just keep on trying my luck like it's a slot machine or something, you know? And they say that these apps are designed in a way to make us feel like we're getting that gambler's high, where like if we just keep going, we might find the one
win the jackpot.
Exactly, that one that we always wanted, the one that's a 10 in our eyes. And in that way, it stops us from trying to build something meaningful with other people who might be perfectly great candidates to be in a like romantic relationship with or something. But if we never give ourselves a chance because we're always swiping and always trying to one up or trying to find somebody better than the last one. And of course, a lot of folks are just using these apps for hookups and stuff anyway.
This is true. And a lot of people, they come really trusting when they're on these apps. They want to go meet you on the first date. They want to probably sleep on you on the first date. They want to, like, I guess, I don't know if it's their expectation. They just feel like one conversation and you're it. They become so trusting, and you hear these stories. Oh, she went out on this date with this man. She never came home. You know, but then you hear positive stories where people get married and have kids. You know, they met each other on the site. But I would like to see who I'm talking to.
Absolutely. And of course, there are things that are red flags, like major red flags in today's day and age. Because we do watch the Catfish show. I don't know how long it's been on at this point, but I remember being a teenager watching Catfish. And so not much has changed from 10 years ago, where internet access and computers and like camera phones and stuff weren't as common. Now they are. And people are still getting away with the excuse of like, oh, I can't video chat you because of whatever ridiculous reason, my phone keeps dying, or my roommate's home, or like people are just finding ways to get away with catfishing that usually include lame excuses as to why you can't speak to the person live. If I can talk to all of y'all right now live at the drop of a dime, why can't the love interest that you're devoting time and energy into getting to know do the same? You know, why can't you be able to see them and know that it's a real person you're dealing with, and that someone's not catfishing or trying to use you or take advantage? And like you said, some folks are so trusting and they're so eager to find someone that they do believe all the sweet nothings that they hear in the beginning. that they do go out on a limb and say, yeah, he seems nice. He doesn't seem like a serial killer. And then we see them on ID on one of those shows where they became victimized or they just disappeared. And of course, it's not funny when that happens, but it's unfortunately one of the things that is a risk when you're doing this sort of thing. Roxy says catfishing shouldn't exist in 2020. Uh-oh, lost it.
Because even the cheap phones have video capabilities.
Right. Boom, there we go. You got it. Okay. It's so true. There's so many ways to connect with people, even if you borrow a phone. Right now in this room, we have 3 phones between us. There are iPads in the house. There are laptops. Like, there's really no excuse. Yeah. But when we're trusting and eager to make something work, we can often allow ourselves to fall for excuses that otherwise make no sense.
You remember back in the day, they used to have the phone chat lines that you call?
Right.
Girl, man, listen. And then when you tell them what your name is, like I used to go as Rough Rider.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why, guys. Don't judge me.
That's how Rough Rider.
And these people, you have the ability to go one-on-one in a room. You just press whatever, and you in that room with that person. Right. And they go by your name. They don't go by your voice, right? Well, maybe they do. But the name, whenever you see that name, that's when they're like, oh, her name is blah, blah, blah. And people used to find these fancy names or these crazy names just to get people's attention.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of like, okay, we're not in that space anymore. We need to see each other.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
I almost forgot all about those chat lines. That's so funny.
On the phone.
That's a throwback.
And 90s, yes.
And from what I'm hearing, and again, I haven't tried online dating, like on the apps and things like that, but tongue-tied. From what I'm hearing, a lot of people are doing a similar thing with their profiles. They're putting information in that's interesting to grab your attention, even though they may have no substance to them, and they just may be like fishing to bait you in and hook you in. And that's why it's so important to look past the surface. And last time we were on here, someone asked how you would go about protecting yourself from people who are trying to use you or manipulate you or something along those lines. And I was thinking how hard that can be with all the technology that's at our disposal, with people meeting complete strangers who they might not otherwise meet in real life. And the fact that online and in these chat rooms and on the phone lines and all that, people can pretend to be whoever they want to be. They can put on a fake face or make a good first impression that gives you one idea of who they are when they may not be that person whatsoever, or they may not be like that. And so when it comes to things like love bombing, where they're laying it on real thick and they're showing you all the attention, all the affection, they're making all those promises, telling you what you want to hear basically, so that you're like, oh my gosh, this person seems perfect for me. This is what I've been waiting for all this time. And then they get you hooked and get you like, wow, maybe it's not too good to be true. Maybe they really are legitimately into me. Maybe I am as amazing as they say, all to have an ulterior motive all the time. It's really hard to trust people. Like, girl, it's got me feeling so skeptical.
And you need to set your standards and don't settle. That is what you're gonna need to do. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, the person that is gonna catch your eye or be that person for you, sometimes they don't meet every single standard, but if they don't off the bat, you get to know that person more and more and more, and then you really know that they in for the right intentions, and then you can give that person a chance, but off the bat, do not settle, guys.
Well, that's the tricky thing with the love bombing, is that they come on so strong initially as a way to bypass that. They fast track it so that you don't really have time to think straight. You're so busy getting swept up in the feelings, in the butterflies in your stomach, in all the infatuation and stuff like that, that they're able to take advantage of those feelings and get you thinking it's real without you really taking the time to get to know them. Another sign of that is when people are trying to pressure you and make you move faster than you're comfortable with. I remember talking to this one guy, and he would, within like the first week, keep on, trying to build me up to let me feel like I was the most amazing woman in the world. And I do think I'm amazing. Like, let's not fool ourselves here. However, it was so ingenuine because he didn't know me yet. I'm like, I know I'm amazing, but you just met me. You don't know I'm amazing. So how could you be saying all of these things unless you're BSing? And it turned out he was BSing. Months later, things fizzled and went really bad. I won't get into it here, but it's like it just didn't feel right. As much as it was nice to hear those nice things that he had to say, and for me to feel like, wow, he thinks I'm amazing. I know I'm amazing, so this could be great. This could have some real potential. At the back of my mind, I was always like, yeah, but you don't know me. Like, slow down. Why are you taking it so fast? Why are you moving so fast? Why are you doing so much so early on? And it was a major red flag. And it turned out that my suspicions were right. So going back to what I told, was it Chocolate Me? It was someone last time who asked that question. It was like, trust your instincts. Make sure that you're paying attention. Keep your eyes open. Take your time. Don't feel pressured into stuff. Don't rush it, especially if you're online dating and you don't know who these people are. Like, make sure you see them first. Make sure you're being careful. Be smart about it. Don't end up on ID on one of those crime shows where a lot of crazy things are happening. And really, really be smart. I think I said that already, but you can't say that enough. It's important to be smart. So T, if you didn't do online dating at this point, right? So after 18 years out of the game, right? Your life is very different than when you met your boo. You're very different probably because so much has changed.
We've grown up together.
Matter of fact, y'all were how old when you met? Were you 18?
You gonna tell my age, girl?
I'm sorry. My bad. But let's just say that they've been together for
18 years.
Okay, I could say that. I was gonna say almost half your life or something, but I'm not trying to give away any information. Yes. My bad. But so much has changed in that time. How do you think you'd go about meeting somebody, or do you think you'd even want to?
Girl.
Or
first of all, I know it's gonna be hard because I can see myself comparing everyone that I meet to him. Right. Sometimes it's good because if you're used to something, that's what you want. But then other times it's bad because maybe that was something that was bad for the relationship and you didn't realize it. Right. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be just hard to find someone to compare, for one. Right. And for two, you gotta go back out there. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I think it might be maybe somebody that I know for a long time, then I'll be more comfortable because I know this person. Right. You know, of course, they ain't gonna be no friends because I don't like to mix the friendship. That's complicated. I know, because I have so much friends from so long ago. Right. And it's like, I would never get into a relationship. I don't want to say never, let's knock on wood. But I won't see myself getting a relationship with them only because you don't want to kill that friendship if things don't work out. For sure. You know? I don't know how it's going to work, girl, but I know what I'm not going to do, though, is I'm not just going to be out there messing around with Tom, Dick, and Harry. Right. And that I know I'm not going to do. But what I'm going to do, I guess I'll figure it out if it never happens.
Well, again, God forbid that ever happens. And bro, if you listening, I'm not trying to put nothing out there. Of course, y'all are an amazing couple together. Y'all are definitely a power couple, and we hope that it stays that way. But just hypothetically speaking, and I ask that because a lot of us, including myself, like if you haven't been dating for a while, maybe not 18 years, but if you have been out of the game for a while, it can be really hard to figure out how to put yourself back out there and like dip your toe in the water without feeling guarded. And like you said, comparing it to things that you've had before, whether for better or for worse. Sometimes we are so stuck on what we're used to or what the last person was like or how the last person was amazing or how they made us feel that it's hard to give someone else a chance if we feel like they're not measuring up in that way. Or if we're not completely healed from that last relationship, it's damn near impossible. Yeah. And so I could not imagine being out of the game for decades and then having to consider starting over and opening up yourself to someone else altogether. Hey, Haifa. So nice to finally meet your sis. Yes, this is T. At least with the men that have interacted with, it seems difficult to set certain boundaries and make them respect you. I feel like. Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. If I'm understanding what you're saying, you're saying that it can be difficult to set boundaries and make sure that the person respects you the way that you want to be respected. And I think that's so important because, like you said, set your boundaries, and don't settle. But at the same time, when you feel like there's a surplus of people out there, like there are so many women out there, and as a matter of fact, a lot of these days, men will try to make you feel like, well, what you won't do, another woman will.
Oh,
So
yes.
why should? Ooh, okay, amen.
Because they be trying to play you and tell you some crap like that. Then go find her.
And so that's the thing. If you try to set boundaries and you're telling them what you need or what you require, they can often feel like, well, that sounds like too much work. I'll just go find somebody who doesn't require that. I'll find somebody who has lower self esteem or who doesn't recognize their worth or who doesn't know what they bring to the table. And I'll just try to finesse them rather than putting into the work with someone who might require more of me. And in a way, it kind of makes sense. It's like, there's like that, it's like a saying or something about low hanging fruit. Like if the animal, if let's say an animal or even a person is trying to get fruit from a tree and the low hanging fruit is easier to access, why would they waste their time or put in extra work and extra effort trying to get the high fruit, the fruit that's higher up on the tree that might be better for them? Let's say it might be in better condition, it might be less bruised up and stuff like that, but it takes more work of them. And if they don't want to put that in, it can be really hard to feel like you're standing by your boundaries and by your standards without scaring some people off. And unfortunately, that is going to be the case sometimes, that you may actually run some people off when you tell them what you require. And for me, it's more than roses and chocolates. Like, I don't even need that stuff. The stuff I'm asking for are harder to get, you know? So the second that I start to show someone, like, I'm not going to settle for just whatever crumbs you try to give me, it's often a deterrent for the wrong people because they feel like, why even try so hard? And for you, they'll have 18 years worth of a loving relationship to measure up against.
Yes.
And so for them, they might not even try or may not want to. And of course, it wouldn't be fair to compare someone to someone who you've been with for so long. So we got to be careful about that kind of thing too. But at the same time, if you know what you want, if you know what you're used to, if you know, excuse me, if you know the standards that you have, and mommy says this all the time, that our dad treated her like a queen. Like she was the sun, the moon, and the stars for him. And when he passed away, it was really hard to find anyone who could ever measure up to that because she wasn't putting up with any BS just because someone would tell her the sweet nothings and say they want to be with her. It's like, I'm not going to settle for that because I know that I deserve more. And I've felt what it feels like to have more and to be loved correctly. So now how can I go back?
Or settle for less than that.
Or settle for less.
And she's been single like for so long. And she's happy being single. Sometimes you can be happy being single. You know, sometimes you want that companionship. You know, you want somebody to talk to. You can do that with a friend.
That was my last video, actually. Did you watch my video? That was my last video.
You can do that with a friend. You know, you don't have to have a man all the time. You know, maybe he gives you comfort and stuff, but trust me, he can't do nothing that a friend can't do, which is converse with you, to take you out, have fun together. And you can find other things to do, other things too. You don't need a man all the time.
That's so true. Says the girl who's been with hers for 18 years. No, let me stop.
You can want one all the time, but you damn sure don't need it.
Right, and I agree. And that's kind of what my last video boiled down to as well, that as much as some of us want one, it's nice not to have to need one, because if we're waiting around for a man to support us financially, or to make us feel good about ourselves, or to take us out on dates, or to have conversations with, then if we don't have that, things can feel really lonely and really like desperate, you know? And so if we're able to find other ways to fill those gaps and fill those voids, if we're able to support ourselves, we also talked about this in the last live, that there's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of dynamic, right, where men like to feel needed, or at least that's what I'm hearing, that they like to feel needed, but us independent women are too independent that they don't want to waste their time because they feel like we don't need them for anything. But then if we're sitting around waiting for someone to need, then they worry about us being gold diggers or being clingy or being leeches, or it's like so much mixed messaging that you don't know if you're coming or going. You don't know what to do if you don't know the rules that you're playing by, really. So should I be independent and take care of myself and make sure that I'm clothed and fed and I have a place to live and all that, and make sure that I'm stable, get an education, get a good job, do all this? Or is that going to scare someone off and make them think that I'm too independent to have space for them in my life?
See, with that, I can see it. Well, I'm not a man, so I can see from their perspective.
Right.
But women want to feel needed too.
Absolutely.
So I can see why they would feel like they're needed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may not be for what they feel like they should be want to feel needed for. I mean, they can go, fix the car, put the gas in the car,
Right.
At least it's something that they feel like, okay, I'm the man, let me do the manly stuff.
Right.
And he should be like willing to do that too. Like,
absolutely,
just be the man in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's a good point, because as women, we want to feel needed too. Like,
right.
if you didn't need us in your life, or if we felt like we were disposable, that wouldn't be a good feeling. So I do get why they would want to feel needed. That makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, maybe there's just a disconnect between what we think men want to be needed for,
right,
versus what we expect them to want to be. I don't know. I don't know how to say it.
Because there's no such thing as gender roles nowadays. Women can do everything that a man can do, and vice versa, to be honest.
Right.
Back in the day, the man bring home the bread, the woman keep the house clean, feed, have the kids, and everything in the house, and the man go out and bring home the money. Right. Nowadays, men and women gotta work because shit is expensive.
Ain't that the truth?
So
I'm waiting to be a housewife. Please go bring home the bacon.
But yeah, I mean, there's really not a gender role anymore. Everything is like gender neutral, except for the bathrooms. They're not gender neutral, but
the bathrooms. I'm like, what?
But I mean, we can always.
So I think that's so tricky too, though, because I feel like gender roles have changed in a lot of ways, but they haven't in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, although women are now expected to go out and be breadwinners as well, we're also still expected to do the womanly stuff, Yes. We're still expected to tend to the children more than the men. We're still expected to keep the house clean more than the men. We're still expected to cook and, stuff like that more than the men. So it's not like we just have a bunch of time on our hands to be sitting around at home in an apron and high heels. Like, we just worked just like he did. And now we came home, we're just as tired as he is. But somehow I feel like a lot of the burden still falls on the woman to take care of a lot of the other things, as well as earning a living and putting food on the table for the family. So I think that's interesting.
And then there's some stay-at-home dads nowadays,
That's true.
The woman be making bank, and he be home doing.
That's true.
Stuff that they thought that a woman should be doing, because it's not the same as the 20s and 30s, and things has changed.
Absolutely. And I personally don't see an issue with stay-at-home dads either, as long as the couple is okay with it and it's an understanding where they each are doing their part and no one person is being responsible for doing everything on their own. I think that's fine too. But I still think somehow women are expected to be the Wonder Women. And speaking from my perspective as a Black woman, because that's the only perspective I've ever had, I feel like there's this strong Black woman stereotype or trope, or I don't know quite the word to use for it, where we're expected to bear the weight of the world on our shoulders while working, while taking care of the kids, while taking care of ourselves, while doing all of it at once. And I know a lot of other women can relate to this as well, but I feel like there's so much that's placed on our shoulders, all for us to be labeled later on as too independent or too strong or too manly, because we've been so used to taking care of our business on our own for so long. But what's the alternative, really?
I don't know, but they need to look at it as we're not depending on them. Like, well, some men want us to depend on them, but then if a man sees a woman that's trying to do a 50-50 kind of thing, I mean, that should be a positive. You guys can be like Beyonce and Jay-Z. I mean, probably not that status,
right?
But a team that's y'all can travel everywhere, because y'all both working, y'all both holding the house down, taking care of the kids. 50-50 to me, ain't nothing wrong with that. Some people are still oh, a man always work, a woman stays home. Some people still have that mentality because they grew up that way,
Right.
and that's just what they know.
Right. And in that way, I think it could also be 50-50 in that kind of dynamic. It's just that his 50, if it is traditional gender roles, his 50% might be the financial contribution and working, and her 50% would be something different, maybe keeping up the house, keeping up
That's true.
those expectations of being at home all day. Although that's not easy either, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm
Girl,
like,
I don't got no kids or nothing, but I know being a mom is a full-time job. I can see
it
it.
really is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they can't be like, oh, you've been home all day. Who been taking care of kids?
Right, you better ask
Okay.
him. You better
Okay.
ask him.
It's a full-time job, and
Right.
nobody can sit there in front and say it's not.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes that does get used against women, like the
Mm-hmm.
person or whoever the house spouse is. I don't know. That kind of rhymes. But whoever's the one taking care of the household can often get that stigma of like, oh, well, you've been home all day. What have you been doing? As if any of this just happens on its own, as if the place keeps itself clean, as if the food cooked itself, as if the kids did their own homework without help, or they take care of themselves all day long. There can be a lot of pressure put on them just because they're not earning money. And so that also puts the person who's at home at a disadvantage, because then it's hard for it to feel like it's our money if you're the only one going out to make it and you're acting like I'm not contributing to the household in an equal way.
And also, if both are in the workforce, they both work, and then the kids are in school, whatever, that put women at a disadvantage in the work site, because in the event the kid is sick, who gonna stay home?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And then these big corporations, they consider that, and they underpay women.
Mm-hmm.
They don't move them up the lines like men do. Why? Because women have more of a responsibility if they come to kids. And that's why they always say, if you go on an interview, don't ever tell them that you got kids, because they're going to be taking that into consideration and see how they're going to pay you, see if they're going to hire you,
Right.
and whatever the case may be, what position you're going to get. They always try to look at women as that person, the one that's going to call in sick more. They're going to be out more. They're going to take maternity leave. You know what I'm saying? So they look at all that stuff, which to me is not gender equality in any sense, form. Okay?
Preach.
So, yeah, when they do stuff like that, and you hear them stories all the time, and people don't, it goes not unseen to the person, because you can think that it's happening because that's what's happening, but the company's never going to sit there and say, those are things that they look at.
Right, they're not going to admit that that's what it is.
Right.
And I think it might actually be against the law these days for them to ask if you have children.
It
you
should
can
be.
volunteer the information, but if an HR or hiring person, and I know we're taking a lot of twists in this conversation, but if no, I think it's cool. Hey, Vicky. I think it's cool as long as you guys don't mind. We're just kind of vibing off of each other, going with the flow. But I think if you volunteer that information, it's different than them asking, because in a lot of cases that information can be used against you in a discriminatory way, where they expect certain things of women that they don't expect of men.
And they ask in a roundabout way. They ain't gonna come out and ask you straight up, do you have kids? They're gonna phrase another question that way is gonna bring that information out of you.
Right.
They're strategic with that stuff too.
Right. And I heard about a study where they talked about the ways that they treat women in the workforce versus men. Like, if they know that a man has children, they are less likely to ask him about what happens in the event that a child is sick, whereas when the woman is interviewing, they'll ask her, so how do you balance home and work life, and what happens if your kids are sick? Because again, they expect that to fall on the women.
Exactly.
And especially for those of us who are single moms, that's even trickier because childcare is an issue. Making sure that we're financially solvent for our family is an issue, and everything else that goes along with that, along with potentially going back out there and dating and maybe trying to find another partner while we have children. Like, there's so much. Damn, being a woman is hard.
Yes.
And I'm sure being a man is not easy. So not to insinuate that, but there's just so much that we deal with. And I do think that men have it easier, even though their experience isn't easy per se.
Girl, that's another conversation for another day, because they look up to men like when they have a lot of girls and stuff, and it's the opposite thing for a woman. Okay?
Preach.
So, another story for another day. Another conversation for another day.
Preach.
Yes.
But I think that does kind of tie back into what we were talking about with dating and online dating, that men might have an easier time with the like having their pick of the litter type dynamic, where if they are swiping through all these people to look for someone, they might be less attached. Whereas some women, not all, although we get the such double standards, Vicky, although we get the reputation of being the ones that are clingy or that hold on too tight or whatever. That's not true. It's so not true. So many men are so clingy, and they're anyway. Let's not get into that. We're not trying to talk badly about men or anything like that. But I feel like we get the reputation of being clingy, but really what it is that we might be more willing to invest in someone and try to make the best of a situation that we find, rather than always looking to trade that person in for the next best thing that we might swipe past. And so the online dating thing, I really don't know what and how and why and all of it. I've thought about it, I've considered it, and lately I've been hearing so many horror stories of what people are seeing and what they're encountering and the things that people are saying to you guys and that they put in their bios and their profiles. And I'm like, is this for real? Like, is this really happening? Is it really that bad out there? And if it is, do I need to even get back out there? Or should I just be single for my entire life? Which I might be cool with. You know, it's not my first choice. But if the alternative is dealing with misogynists and sexists and all these other things, yeah, I know that I'm none of those things. So I could probably treat myself better than they could.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see anything with online dating. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that is something that I would be open to. But in terms of it being like, sometimes it is the best option. However, dating is dating. Make it like a thing where you start off at dating, not start off as, oh, he my man, straight off the bat. Because again, you don't know this person, but when you date them, you get time to get to know them. You get to see them face to face. You get to go. He takes you on dates. You meet people, meet friends, and then you get to know that, okay, he is really the person who. But don't just rush into it and say, okay, I'm done, because you can date multiple people.
I was just about to ask you that, how you feel about the idea of dating multiple people at one time, of a woman doing it, because like you said, men get props for that. It's like, ooh, you got all these women, boy. Men get a lot of props for that, and it totally is a double standard, like Vicky pointed out. How do you feel about a woman doing that, like having multiple potential suitors that they're entertaining at the same time?
I don't see anything wrong with that. Just don't, have sex with all of them. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to put yourself out there in that aspect. But dating them, because it gives you a time to narrow it down. Because you will find things in some people where you're like, okay, he's eliminated. He's no good. We're not going to work. And then you can narrow down to that one person. And then it can be where y'all go to the next step or whatever. But if you're going to go to the next step with one person, you can probably just cut out the rest of them. Because obviously you guys are moving forward in some type of way. You know? But I don't see anything with dating. Because dating to me is like,
getting to know somebody,
right, or multiple people at that.
Somebody's.
I don't see anything wrong with dating multiple people.
And another thing to that, on that topic, that I'm hearing these days is that dating in the traditional way that we're used to it, and what's traditional to us in the generation we grew up will be very different than people who are older than us or even younger than us. But when we were coming up, dating was, somebody shows an interest in you, they ask you out on a date, maybe y'all talk on the phone at first and stuff like that, get to know each other, you laugh, you giggle, you do the schoolgirl thing, and then, yeah, Roxy says society thinks women can't date multiple guys without sleeping with them. It's such a double standard. And Vicky says sex doesn't equal commitment, though. I think that's where we mess up. It's so true.
Right.
And so sometimes when we go to that point and we get intimate with someone in that way, we start to feel like, well, now you my boo. Like, that's it. We go together now.
But he's like, okay, some friends with benefits going on here.
Exactly.
And then I got a girlfriend over there. I got a baby mama over there. I'm the man, you know?
And his boys are making him feel the same thing. And so, yes, of course, you can ask a fashion question. And so, if you are going to that level with someone, and style it. I might be able to do something like that. I'll have to remember to do that another time. So that's the tricky thing when you do get intimate with someone. If you are the type who gets attached quickly and who starts to feel like that step or taking that step and having sex with someone means that they're more committed to you now, that would be a misstep because not everyone sees it that way.
Right.
You can be thinking that you're building more and that you're taking the next step to build on that to get to a further point with them. But sometimes if that's what they all that they want, they just got what they wanted and they may not stick around, or they may only expect to keep getting that with no real expectation of committing any further or into being your partner full time. And they may just feel like now they have that friends with benefits, like you said, who let them sleep with you without any sort of commitment, without any sort of expectations. And it can be really hard to undo that if they get it in their mind that that's all you are to them. And so I don't know that I would say don't sleep with them. I would just say, I mean, if that's what you want to do what you want
Right.
to do, right?
Right.
But I would just say be careful and know yourself. Know that if you sleep with them, that it's because it's something you want to do and it's because it's something that you're going to enjoy, not just because you think it's going to make them like you more,
Right.
or that it's going to be the thing that like ties them, you know, that gets them into you more. Having a chance with men at least 10 years, I'm stuck. I can't get over my...
Did she say fupa?
Yeah, her fupa, the thought of intimate. You know?
We love fupas around here. Ain't nothing wrong with a fupa, girl.
Girl, and if we got it, we got it. What you gonna do? Take it off? Like, unfortunately, it's not detachable, or at least not without, like, major surgery. So it's like, I get that it's something that you can be hung up on, but if you got it, this is who you are. You have it, I have it.
Okay.
You know, like...
Here's my question, because when I see fupa, or, you know, define it, it's fat upper pussy area, right?
Damn, I can't even bleep that right now because we're live.
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
Right? So, to me, it's like some people are seeing it as maybe some of their tummy area covering their vagina. Like, what is it? Tell me what you guys think a fupa really is. Because I think it's a fat upper pussy area. And to me, it's the top of your vagina. And men love a fat pussy.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like...
So, okay, before my sister gets any more X-rated.
I'm sorry, guys.
Miss Jen says it's her belly.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So it's really not your pussy area then.
And Vicky agrees as well.
Okay.
And that's the thing, it does have different definitions because I have heard it that way as well as I've heard of it like the overhang of the belly, because unfortunately our belly will only protrude to some point and then it will start to hang or start to sag, especially if we have children and stuff. Everything changes, you know, and so it's just one of those things. I happen to have the belly hang and ain't nothing I can do about it short of surgery. So it was something that bothered me for a long time because it's not what we're told are desirable. Like, none of the Instagram baddies that all the men are following have it.
That's
you know
they
what I mean?
don't have surgeries. Maybe 50% of them. Not all of them, I mean. But yeah, a lot of them have the surgery. They take it out their stomach and put it in their butt. You know, they do it.
It's true. And that's another conversation that we're going to have another day. My girl, Super Philly chick that recommended it, I don't think she's able to join us today, so I didn't want to have the talk without her. But we definitely are going to talk about plastic surgery and stuff. If you want to join me for that, I think that could be fun too. We'll see. But yeah, short of having the surgeries, I know there's tummy tucks, there's liposuction, there's the mommy makeover. That's a combination of lipo, tummy tuck, and the booty lift and the boob lift. So there's a lot of things that can be done in that way. But I would hope that somewhere along the way, we'll be able to find acceptance and learn to just accept who we are and love who we are and know that it doesn't make us any less lovable. There are men who will love you,
girl,
regardless, and your fupa and all.
Okay.
And they will grab it and they will caress it and they will kiss it and they will do other things. I'm not gonna get X-rated like my sister, but they will do a lot of other things. You can do the Spanx. But that's the thing. Spanx are great, especially when you're dressed and you have to look a certain way for a certain outfit. But if you're going to be intimate with someone eventually, the Spanx got to come off. Mm-hmm. You know, so at some point, I think that Um, OMG.
And
Let it hang.
yes, let it hang. And you know, a lot of times men love that. You know, it's not the way, it's not always just the way you look. They love your personality, they love the person you are, they love the way you carry yourself. And then when you just be the baddest bitch,
Fupa and all. Jinx.
Fupa and all. You know, you can get in. Let me tell you, okay, don't fall yourself short because you're not happy with it. You will get a man that will love it. Okay, he will love it.
But first, you have to come to some level of acceptance of
You
it.
love it first.
Because
right?
if you're shying away from it, if you're covering it, if you're feeling timid because of it, especially like in a sexual kind of way, then it is going to translate into insecurity. Yes. And that's one thing that's probably more unattractive than anything that we think about ourselves that might be a flaw. So if I'm seeing my fupa as a flaw, the fact that I'm like, no, don't touch that, don't do that, that's going to be more off-putting than the actual fupa.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if someone is with you, they know what you look like. As much as we think that we're hiding it behind the Spanx and behind the clothes and behind the, like, people know what they're getting into. They know what you look like. They can envision what you look like without clothes. Matter of fact, I hear that men like picture women naked all the time and stuff. So he's probably already mentally removed your Spanx in his mind. And he knows what's there, and it's not necessarily off-putting unless you turn it into something that makes him feel like it should be off-putting.
And sorry, that's
no, you got it.
There's some women out there that are just like, they look completely different when it takes the stuff off. You know what I mean? They're like a false advertisement walking. You know, and then so that's the part where it's like, then the man is going to be turned off. But if you know what you got, you embrace it, you take that sucker with you everywhere you go, okay, and you just have that confidence, they would love that. Right. They would love that.
Right. The confidence is more attractive than any booty lift, than any butt pads. And like you said,
butt pads.
Like you said, like there are women who are, and nothing against them whatsoever, who strap on the fake booty pad that sits there, and then they put on tights. And they put on all these things. They put in the cutlets and stuff into the bra. Nothing against it. No shade whatsoever. Just saying that when the things come off and the boobies start to sag the way they do without the bra, or you take off the booty pads and then you got a pancake like me.
You're gonna be like, what the hell?
Like, where did she go? Like, who is this? So I think it's, Spanx, I love Spanx myself, and I think it helps your outfit look nice and smooth and put together and all that. But there's a difference between Spanx and then adding things that don't really exist or doing a lot more. And people could argue the same about makeup or artificial hair and things like that. So there's certainly levels to it. And I don't shade anybody for any of that. I love me a good face beat and wig and all that myself. So I don't shade anyone for it. It's just that you still have to be comfortable with who you are at the end of the day when all that comes off. Because if you really want to build intimacy with someone on a true level, they're going to have to see you without it at some point.
Yes.
At some point. You can't always wake up before them. There's like those movies where the girl gets up early and she goes in the bathroom and she puts on blush and she brushes her teeth
and
she
go back to lay down,
and then she lays down delicately on the pillow to act like she woke up like this. We know that's not true. Only Beyonce wakes up like that. And even Beyonce don't wake up like that. You know what I mean? So, and Instagram and all the social media and stuff, it's tricking us into thinking that the booty bump? Do you remember booty
Was it like pants that had like the built-in things? Is that what you're referring to?
So Roxy asks if we remember the booty bump from like the 2000s because she remembers commercials. Somehow that sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah. She said, yeah, she thinks so. There's everything. There's
the built-in booty.
They still have panties and stuff like that
God.
have the foam, kind of like push-up bras and stuff have a little bit of foam underneath. There's the panties and shorts and stuff that have the little booty print to lift and to do all kinds of things. Girl. And they sell them for a reason. So if you want it, if you need it, if you like it, do you? But still, I have had men tell me like they took a girl home at night after the club or something and she was this amazing looking goddess and stuff. But then once the weave came up, like she had a wig and she was bald headed underneath, she happened to have a clean shave. So once the wig came off, once the lashes came off, once the highlighting, like concealer and stuff came off, she was a different complexion, had a completely different hairstyle, complete, like everything was different. And he was like, oh my God, I think I got catfish. But in person, like, and so it's tricky because women are expected to have a certain image and a certain look that is not necessarily natural or sustainable once you take everything off. Like, I do actually look different without this hair and without this makeup. It's true. However, I have to know to love myself all the ways that I look, because I don't wake up like this. And if I have to wake up next to someone one day, they're gonna be there. My fupa wakes up with me every single day.
Girl,
like,
and you need to be
fupa-licious,
okay? Be fupa-licious.
And I'm fupa-licious.
Yes.
Hashtag fupa-licious.
I know.
And I made a video about this, that there are ways, again, with plastic surgery and stuff, that we can change it. But short of that, some of us will never ever be able to do enough crunches or enough sit-ups or enough workouts to ever get rid of it. Because there'll either be the hanging belly or the loose skin that's left over, or something will always be there once you get to a certain weight or a certain size, or you have a certain amount of hanging whatever. It's going to be hard to completely undo that without the help of surgeons, which gets expensive, which can be dangerous, which can have risk and all kinds of things. So, I mean, you know, try your best to embrace it. And yes, you said you need to go out on dates. I think that's a great idea. Try not to put too much pressure on yourself. Try to have fun. Try to act like the fupa doesn't bother you. And the more that you do that, the more that you'll get used to it. You'll see that it's not an issue for most of the men that are dating with you, because if you've made it that far, they already know and they don't mind it. They don't have a problem with it. But when you're showing that insecurity, it does make other people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I know that for me, when I hear a friend or a loved one talking about themselves, like, oh, I'm so gross, I'm so this, I'm so that, it doesn't make me feel like, yeah, they are gross. It just makes me feel like, wow, she really doesn't like herself, you know? Yeah. So then it will put doubt in someone else's mind if they're hearing you tear yourself down that way. And it might also make them feel comfortable doing it too. So you definitely don't want to give them that kind of power where they can turn around and start talking about your fupa because you don't like it so much and you've shown that to them. And really, those who matter won't mind. That's just the way it is. Those who really matter, who really care about you, who really like what you have to bring to the table, they won't mind a little hanging belly. They'll know how to move it out of the way when it's time to do whatever you got to do. And again, I'm not going to get X-rated like some people. But but that's just what it is. So yes, Miss Jen, go out on those dates. Get to know some people, get to know yourself, feel comfortable in yourself, or at least learn how to do that. Practice it so that when the time comes that you meet somebody that you really like, that it won't be an issue anymore and you can be proud of yourself and excited about the moment, fupa and all.
Girl,
and I said jinx, so you're not even supposed to be talking. I jinxed. It's been so long. What were the rules of jinx? You're not supposed to talk?
Until somebody say your name.
I never said your name. So anyway, she's on mute for the rest of the conversation. but yeah, fupa-licious, fupa and all. Most of us got it in some way, shape, or form. Even the thin girls, even the ones that are skinny minis, often have some kind of extra belly or some kind of hang. Hey, Super Philly. I'm glad you made it too. So even those the girls who are thin and who have the perfect body often have something like that too. They just know their angles. They know how to turn to the side or how to suck it in a little bit or how to wear the tights nice and high and the high-waisted jeans to smooth it out. Like nobody out here really has anything that's perfect.
And they can Photoshop too.
And they can Photoshop too. I got wings. We all got something.
Yes.
We all got something. It's so true. And as much as we...
Hi.
Hey, Mo Gravy. I love y'all screen names. They're awesome. But as much as we want to feel like our life would be perfect without some flaw that we have, as much as I think my life would be perfect without a fupa, without the wings, without the saggy thighs, without this or with bigger that or with whatever, there are people who have those same attributes that we're idolizing, that we're putting on a pedestal, who don't like certain things about themselves. Or who might not even like that thing even. The thing that we think is so amazing, they might have been harassed and teased about it their whole life. and feel some type of way about it because of it, So just accept what you got, try to embrace it. It's not easy for sure, but bodies change. And at some point, most of our bodies will get to a point where we feel like we're different than we used to be, or we're not at our prime anymore, or we might be insecure about certain things, or whatever the case is. And acceptance is really the way to get you to that confidence where you're able to embrace the fupa and know that your partner can get comfortable with it as well, so that it's not something that you're being shamed for or feel ashamed of.
Yeah, and another thing, just don't compare yourself to other people that you think look so much better than you, or so much smaller, so much skinnier, have longer hair, does her makeup better. Like, don't compare yourself to people like that. The only reason I say this is because back in my dating days, I was attracted to certain type of men, right? So I would never look at a man that I was not attracted to. And when I say attracted, just looking at them and saying, "Oh my God, he's handsome," you know. And then I noticed that a lot of them, when you start talking to them, their conversation, the way they talk, the things they say about people, bring them down on the scale in terms of how they look. They are no longer attractive. They're no longer my type. They're just so ugly on the inside that it starts to protrude on the outside. And then the other guy that I was like, oh my God, he's not my type. And I have a conversation with him and he's just so nice. He's man that brings him up, okay, a few slots to where it's like, oh my God, he's like good looking.
Right.
Like it just changes.
Right.
And to me it was kind of like, how the hell does this happen?
Right.
And then I would go to the person that I didn't find attractive for physically attractive, but the conversation, everything just brings him up and makes him so handsome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and the other one is just like, oh my God, he's so ugly. Like, no, it's crazy. So just be yourself, be confident, put that out there, and then that will bring you up on the scale so high. People will look at you, you're more attractive than this person, because this girl over there, like, she can't talk to people, she talk about everybody, whatever the case may be, she's just not a good person. Right. And that will just bring her down.
Right.
In terms of on their standard scale.
Right. Absolutely. You said a lot there, so I'm going to try to remember some of that. No. I just want to respond to things, but I'm going to forget half of it. So Mo Gravy said, absolutely, some of the prettiest people can be the most insecure, and I agree with that. And also, some of the prettiest people can be the ugliest on the inside, like my sister was saying. And yes, absolutely, attraction is necessary, and I don't think you should have to sacrifice being attracted to someone. But just keep in mind that the people that you're visually, physically attracted to might not always be the best candidates once you get to know them. So one of the things I remember growing up is that a lot of the pretty boys and the ones that everybody wanted, they let it get to their head, and they were some of the most awful people. Because for me personally, being conceited and cocky is such a turnoff that it doesn't matter if you are the equivalent of Denzel in most women's eyes, that if you are so full of yourself or you're so arrogant and cocky because of it, like my sister said, it makes me start to devalue you in that way. Like I don't see you in the same way. And I know a lot of sitcoms have that storyline where it's like, the person gets a date with the famous guy that they always wanted, and oh my God, he's taking me out, and he's rich and famous and wearing his limo and stuff, but he won't stop staring at himself in the mirror, or he won't stop talking about himself, and she's just there bored out of her mind, even though he seems to be everything she wants physically. There's just not more to it. And I feel like that can be the same for a lot of women. And not to talk badly about any women, but some of the baddies that you see, that's all that they have to offer. Some of them are brilliant, some of them are so sweet, so caring, so loving, and they're a full package, but some of them really aren't. All that they have to bring to the table is the booty and the boobs, so they push it out and stick it out as much as they can because that's what they have to offer, unfortunately. And so don't let your appearance be something that stands in your way, because you are more than your appearance.
Exactly.
That's not all that you are. You're more than the fupa, more than the wings, more than all those things. There's so much more to it, and that can actually elevate you even more than just having a pretty face or a fat booty. And I think like the person commented, who was it? Attraction is absolutely important. You shouldn't have to sacrifice that in order to, Miss Jen. You should absolutely feel a spark and feel attracted to the person. They should not make your eyes hurt when you look at them. They should
Right.
like, oh my god, my eyes, like put a bag over your head. It shouldn't be that extreme. But at the same time, you have to decide whether or not the physical attraction is the most important thing to you. And I'm actually hearing that for guys, it's usually one of like the top three things. Like her physical appearance is top three, whereas for a lot of women, it's a little bit lower on the list because some of us were trained to look deeper than that, to look more for the compatibility and the connection and what he can bring to the table and stuff like that. But don't feel so caught up on the looks that that's what you idolize and that everything else falls to the wayside. Because just because he's tall, just because he's attractive, just because he's good looking, doesn't mean that he'll be good for you or good to you. And so try to make sure you're looking deeper than that. But it is important. Not saying you should sacrifice it or end up with somebody ugly. Nobody want that.
Right.
All right, so let's go back a little bit. So, okay, my boyfriend, a boy that is a friend, okay, we get it. He can drool over a fine girl and then she opened her mouth and it was done. Not all guys are looking for a perceived 10. Exactly. It's so true. Right. And although we're told that that's the standard and that's what they want, that's why we have to aspire to be that. That's not necessarily true. Some of these guys are a lot deeper than we think. Yes. And of course, again, they don't want somebody who hurts their eyes either, who's like, oh my God, girl, like, ugh. They don't want that. But at the same time, it's not that you're a baddie or you're just butt ugly. There's a lot of people in between who don't necessarily fit the standard, like, what's the conventional, like, beauty type, but at the same time are good looking in their own right and have a lot more to offer than that anyway.
And all that lot more will bring you up a few notches, okay?
Ew. All right. Roxy says, as I've gotten older, I value good chats and a good vibe over looks. Yes. It's true. And it's important too. Like, obviously you want somebody to be like, ooh, he's good looking. Like, look at my boo. But at the same time, if once he opens his mouth, it's like, ugh. You don't want that. Yeah. Hey, Addison. All right. Awful. I had a friend who dated a pretty boy. Mm-hmm. The relationship ended because she couldn't handle him getting hit on all the time. She was scared he would cheat or leave her. That's true too,
you know,
right?
That's something I was just gonna say too. That you want to have a walking trophy on your hand. You know, whether you're man or woman, whether you're same sex. I mean, to which is own.
Right.
But you want to have like a walking trophy, and everybody's attracted to your significant other. That's gonna open that door. You know what I mean?
Be prepared for what comes with that, basically.
Right.
I'm sorry. No, No, I was just gonna say, not to say that someone would leave or cheat for that reason, but just be prepared that that does come with more of a level of like perceived competition, where it's like, oh, the waiter was smiling at him, she must want him. You know what I mean? Like now you feel like women are checking him out everywhere you go and everything else. And the same with men when they have a baddie and and they are told that that's what men want. They often feel the need to guard and shield that person. And I'm sure you've all experienced the thing where somebody's out with their partner and they see you and they pull their partner closer or put their arm around them as a way to like mark their territory. If they could pee on them, I think they would. Like this is mine, you know, like back off, ladies. And I don't think that's a good look either, where you have to feel threatened by other people just because you think your partner is that good looking.
And even if your man is that good looking and people are, because I've had a situation where my mom and my man went out to breakfast one morning, and then the waitress was like hovering over my man, like signs and all that. I ain't gonna get into the full story or nothing, y'all. But I'm like, and I didn't feel any type of, I'm like, yeah, my man look good, you know, so of course I'm gonna be like, hell yeah. But to have that trust in your man that you know he's not going to initiate any of that, he's not going to entertain it, that's number one.
And he knows better. No.
That too. You have whichever man you have, just make sure that you don't even have to think or have an inkling of him being that person that's looking for other people entertaining other women, none of that. I didn't have anything. I was like, oh, that's good, you know, because it made me feel good because I'm like, okay, yeah, my man, look at, he still got it, okay, but that's right, he's my man, you know what I mean? And no worries at all. I love it.
And that's the thing. Some people do thrive on that. They like knowing that their partner is so attractive that they could pull somebody else if they wanted to, but they don't want to have to deal with the doubt or the concern about
Right.
that. And no one would. You don't want to have to
Exactly.
worry about him going to the diner by himself. Because what if that waiter hits on him and he entertains it or whatever? Like, you want to have some level of trust, but being with someone who you consider to be super attractive does come with some level of like potential competition if you know that other people are going to perceive them that way as well and potentially want them for themselves, you know. So it's important, trust and all that.
And that's another thing too. Like when men used to look at me, I say used to, but they probably still do. I don't know. I don't pay attention to it. But I'm pretty sure my man feels good. Like, oh, he's still checking out my,
Right.
cause, you know, it makes him feel good. But then he also feels good because he know that I don't got eyes for nobody else. You know, so yeah, she's awesome.
Right. So it's nice to have, when the waiter's hitting on him, it's nice for him to have a little validation, like, okay, I still got it. And also for you to be like, yeah, my man is good looking, so of course women will want him. But again, y'all have that trust that you don't have to worry about him creeping just because someone bats their eyes in his direction. And she was doing more than that, y'all. She was like laying it on real thick. And my mama almost said something like, look, he is with my daughter. You better back up. But it didn't go that way because he's not even like that. He just acted like it didn't happen.
Right.
Matter of fact, wasn't he acting oblivious? Like,
Yeah,
oh, was
like,
she flirting with
yeah.
me? Like, you knew she was flirting with you. Don't play. Don't try to play us.
And
You
she's
knew.
like, oh my god, he's so oblivious. Like he doesn't even pay attention to that stuff, you know. But of course we do. We women. Okay?
I mean, it's nice for him to at least act like, oh, I didn't even think that, but we know he knew. We ain't slow. Miss Jen says I should give you access to my dating profiles. See, that's the thing. I'm so curious. I ran across a few videos and a few posts recently, like in the last couple of days, where women are talking about the red flags that they're seeing in dating and in the bios of these people and all that. And I'm like, could it really be that bad? I was tempted to make a profile just to spy and creep and see. Like,
what?
I was like, maybe I should just go look. Like, this can't be life. This can't be real. But at the same time, I don't know. I think it might discourage me more and make me feel like, yep, I'm gonna be a spinster for my entire life, just because it can't, like, there's a certain level that you can't let yourself go stoop lower. Then, you know, like, is the bar that low that this is what's acceptable and that this is what the men are expecting you to either want or put up with? Like, I don't have the patience. I got too much to do. That's Vicky says, my dad used to say, kiss pretty frogs to get your prince, ladies. Process it and keep it moving. Interesting.
Process of elimination.
Pretty frogs, huh? I mean, you know, that's the thing. You do have to, unfortunately, put yourself out there to at least try. If you never meet anyone and if you don't give anyone a chance, you just won't know. And unfortunately, I feel like the movies and the sitcoms and all the rom-com things, they give us this false sense of like the one is waiting around every corner. And so the one guy you meet who gives you butterflies, it's like, he needs to be your boo now. Y'all are gonna be together forever. Y'all gonna have 2.5 kids, a dog, and a picket fence. You know what I mean? Like, they act like you're supposed to latch on to whoever it is and just stay with that person and that's gonna be the one. But really, it does take getting to know multiple people. Sometimes the person that you invested time and energy in and that you may have slept with and may enjoy and stuff may not be the one that you're meant to be with. And that can be hard to let go of after you feel like you've invested a certain amount of yourself into someone. But you gotta kiss them frogs. I mean, maybe not literally kiss them if you're not feeling them right, but you have to at least try and meet people if you're looking to attract something or someone, because that's the only way it's gonna happen. Just be safe and protect yourself, your heart, all that. A good conversation is so sexy. Ain't it though?
Okay.
Ain't it? Thank you, Addison.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, plenty, not pretty. That's so funny. All right, so to clarify, the quote from her dad was to kiss plenty of frogs, not pretty frogs. I was like, for real? Because I mean, there's nothing wrong with kissing the good looking ones, you know? But, okay.
Shoot, no men's.
Know your men's. Look, I'm still working on getting jealous. I know it's because I have insecurities to work on, and my partner doesn't need all that negativity. I will love a guy for his personality.
Yeah. Other
Yeah, then get
women.
mad when other women like it too. I think we're a little bit behind on the chat. Let's keep
Yeah.
going. Dating sucks. So much trial and error, and trial and error, and trial and error, right? I feel you. It seems like the ones you really like, no, excuse me, the ones you like rarely like you, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's the case. And I've been hearing that there's like a lot of fat phobia and stuff on those dating profiles. And for me, as a person who's been fat my whole life, like that's just one of the things that would be so off putting to see when they're like, no fatties or no chubsters. And like, this is stuff that I'm seeing in these posts and videos that women are talking about their dating experiences online. I feel like that would just be so discouraging to feel like people are so blatantly against who you are type of thing, and that it'll make you feel like there's even less options out there for you. And again, if they have the whole world at literally their fingertips and they can get on this thing and start swiping, and they feel like, oh, she's too fat, swipe. Like, they don't even know me. Like, come
Right.
on now, I could be the woman of your dreams. Now, I don't want you giving me a chance or throwing me a bone because you think that, well, if you think that I'm gross or disgusting, or if I'm just not your type, I don't want that. But at the same time, don't be so quick to discount someone because they're not the baddie that you're used to seeing on your timeline all day. But anyway, that's
And
just my
that
thought
goes
about
back
that.
to getting that conversation going. Your conversation can just make them fall in love with you. You know, it's not always looks.
Right? And Super Philly Chick says, what about men using us as eye candy and not for what we bring to the table?
Right.
I'll say humbly, don't be humble, girl. If you eye candy, you eye candy. That's been my experience at times. It's been hard for me to find substance and an attractive man.
Mm.
It's true. It's so true. Oftentimes I've heard, when I hear the women who are considered baddies and conventionally beautiful, when I hear them talk about their dating struggles, it's along those lines that yes, they have the look that a lot of men say they desire and that a lot of women would hope to have, but at the same time, it could be a double-edged sword. Now that's something that's used against you where all they see is your looks, where they don't care what you have to say. They're not interested in your conversation. All they want is what you can bring to the table sexually, or they want to use you for your body. And I think that's messed up too. Because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
And I mean, a lot of baddies, because that's what they consider themselves.
That's why I keep using air quotes. Not to say these women aren't gorgeous. Some of them are. But the concept of baddies is a bit condescending to me.
Single. Like, they be single. Yeah, they might have men in their DMs and stuff, but what that man looking for? A good night. Okay? They don't always want them to be in a relationship because they know the other men that are there and what she is probably doing. You know what I mean? With other... I don't want to say that because I don't want people to seem like that, but that's what the portrayal of them looking like that and doing the things they do on social media will have men thinking.
Right.
They don't want to be in a relationship with you because they don't know, you know, how that is going to turn out if you have all these men looking at your pictures, you're posting explicit stuff.
You're twerking on the ground.
You know, they don't want that. I mean, they like the way you look, and if you get in a serious relationship, your man is going to look for you to shut that sucker down. Okay?
That's often true, right?
Yes.
Like, either they don't take her seriously because they feel like all she is a good time. Like, they see the twerking and they like, ooh, I want some of that. But then when it comes time to wife her up, so to speak, they're not necessarily thinking that she's the type that makes for a good wife.
Exactly.
They might want a modest, humble,
girl next door type.
Girl next door type. I'm like, how do I say this? Girl next door type for a wife, someone who you can take home to mama, but at the same time, they are attracted to and sexually intrigued by the ones that have a more provocative type of look and an attitude, especially on things like social media these days.
But a lot of times they're not gonna wipe that. Not that, but him. They're not looking to wipe them unless they pull back on that kind of social stuff they're doing. For other men to see, I mean, no man really want another man or another woman to look at their woman and see what they see when they're together. You know what I mean?
Right.
It,
So the twerking and her cheeks clapping on IG is what got his attention. But now that she's his, obviously they're not property. I feel like I should just have air quotes behind me the whole time doing this. Now that they're in a relationship, he may not like that other men
right.
are getting to see that side of her because he might feel jealous or possessive or like she's still putting herself out there in that kind of way.
Right.
It's so tricky. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. OMG, fat phobia is real. I had it to click off dating sites. It's depressing me. Oh, excuse me, it depressed me to a point. Sorry, I'm misreading y'all
Oh,
comments. I'm struggling here. But yeah, I'm like, if I were to see that, I'd be so disgusted because any kind of phobia to me, homophobia, fat phobia, all these things, racism, sexism, anti-feminism, all these things, I'm like, you just showing your card and you're just showing me what kind of person you are. And forget you not wanting me. Now I don't want you. Like, what makes you think you're a prize because you slim or something? I'm
how
also
about
hearing
claustrophobia?
claustrophobia. I'm not with it. Now let me stop. You stop spelling claustrophobia. I'm also hearing from a lot of women that the men are putting their height in their bio. And they're like, oh,
Mm.
I'm 5'10" since that apparently matters or something. And I'm like, it
Because
matters.
they're always saying tall, dark, and handsome. That's what people be looking for. That's what women always say. Oh, he's tall, dark, and handsome, and he's pale as hell. Okay, like where the darkness at? Where is the
but,
darkness? Like they be bugging.
but either way, it seems like the men are showing their cards as far as they're being very superficial in how they present themselves because that's what they look for in a woman. Like they very much value her looks. So they think that the woman is looking for the same thing
Mhm.
instead of providing any substance about what he's like or how he gets along with people or
Right.
what his morals and values are. He talks about things like the amount of cars he has. He poses in pictures with guns or with his middle finger up because we're still 17 years old and immature apparently. And all these silly, frivolous things, as well as showing their fat phobia, homophobia, all these things that are really off putting to me that I can see how it's depressing. Absolutely.
And to love yourself, I'm telling you, if you see somebody talking about, fat people and you feel like you're just in that category, pay them no mind. They're not worth it. Okay? Just go on with just love yourself. Okay? Pick up your stuff, fupa and all, be fupa-licious
Mm.
on another
Foolish.
side. Just don't entertain that
Oh
mess,
gosh.
and be so confident in yourself that it wouldn't even let you, feel, oh my god, and be just don't. They're not worth it. Period.
There was an episode of the Golden Girls, and I love me some Golden Girls. I still watch the reruns, but Blanche, she's known as the roommate that's like sexually provocative. She's always having different men in her beds and all that stuff. One time, I think it was her niece came to visit her, and the niece was young and beautiful and getting a lot of attention from men and going here, there, everywhere, doing all this. And one of the things that Blanche had to talk to her about was the niece was like, oh, well, you do the same thing, Aunt Blanche. Like, what's so different
Oh.
about it? And Blanche told her, well, the thing about me is that when I'm with a guy, I think about whether or not I like him, not just being with him because he likes me. And of course, there's a bigger story to it and all that. I don't remember all the details. But the thing is that I feel like we can be so caught up on who likes us and who's going to want to be with us,
Mm-hmm.
especially if we have insecurities that are holding us back, that we forget to think about whether or not we actually like the person. Just because someone's showing us attention or they say that they want us in some way doesn't mean we have to feel the same. And these idiots who were talking about no fatties, please, it's like you wouldn't want him anyway. Like, he does not sound like a prize. Even if someone who is bigger or curvier or fatter or whatever is not your type, someone who would say something that's so just disrespectful about a whole population of people, is that someone that you really want to spend time with or waste your time on anyway? So let him be fat phobic, swipe right past it, whether it's left or right or however you do it, and just keep it moving. You don't have to worry about that. Unfortunately, though, if it's every swipe that you see, and if there's also colorism and racism and stuff where they're like, no darkies, please, or no black women, or no this woman, or no that, it can make you feel like, damn, they want everybody but me.
Isn't there a site? I don't know what the name of it is, but it's like for like black, like you
Black people
know.
meet.
Oh, that's probably. Oh, how you know?
The commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Blackpeoplemeet.com, and they show all these
I hope
attractive
it's the
black people.
commercials.
I don't think any of them are plus size in the commercials, but I think they also have a plus size dating app. Again, I've never tried any
And
of
they
them.
have one for
I'm
older people
tempted.
too.
There's
Like
older for
older.
our time.
Oh man,
You wanna know
them
how I know
silver
that
foxes.
one?
Silver fox.
Silver fox.
Oh, they be so cute. Oh my
Your
gosh.
man might be watching, girls, so be careful.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm
Like, cause I'm not into older men.
Some of them be fine though.
What?
I'm like, who daddy are you?
And you can, and I see them like on the gram, and they be like
thirst trapping too. They be thirst trapping. They know what they doing.
Yes, they be like zaddy.
Right, let's keep swiping, y'all. She getting a little loose over here.
Well, I don't say that. I'm just saying they be handsome. Like, oh my gosh.
And VLM says, and most of the guys will not give a fat woman a chance just based off of appearance alone. It's true. And again, I don't think we should want anybody throwing us a bone and being like, fine, I'll give you a chance. Just like, no, you should actually be enthusiastic about getting to know me because I'm a catch. Just because I'm not who you usually see, like raised up or lifted up or praised as being attractive or whatever, that doesn't mean that I'm not valuable and I'm not worth your time. Now, if I have to convince you of that, that's a problem. And you're not worth my time. Mm-hmm. When a dude says, I don't want anything substantial, believe them. You can't change them, and it's not your job to as well. Yeah. You are a choice, not an option.
Period.
Ooh. If that is your end goal. It's so true. It's so true.
Exactly. You never want to be an option, okay? You want to be the number one, the one and only, okay? And you should be a number 2, 3, and 4. No. One and only.
And Super Philly Chick in VLM says, if you stimulate the brain, my body will follow, or the body will follow.
Yes.
It's so true.
Love it.
It's
I love
so true.
That.
And what I find interesting, going back to the catfish conversation, one of the things we talked about is how a lot of the people who end up being the catfishers are plus size and not what you consider conventionally beautiful. And a lot of them use pictures and photos of someone who is as a way of getting, engaged with someone. But when they're talking to the person, when the catfisher is talking to the victim, I guess, they actually form a genuine connection. You know what I mean? Like they actually enjoy each other. They actually get along really well. The person who's being catfished will say, nobody ever made me feel better in my life than she did. No one was ever as supportive as she was. She's the most beautiful person ever. She has a beautiful spirit. She has a beautiful mind. We are so compatible and stuff. Unfortunately, it's based on a false pretense because the person lied in the beginning. But oftentimes, once they get past that initial physical stuff, they actually develop a deeper connection. And so it just goes to show you that the people or the women that, the people who are not giving the plus size person a chance might actually have a real opportunity to build a connection with that person if they did. But since they won't, or they may not have, they'll never know. Right. If they're just going for a certain look or for a certain type, they'll never know that there's more beneath the surface and that there's more to someone than their fupa or whatever it is. So, I mean, I don't know. It's so different dating plus size. You're so right. It's a whole different world, and many people don't understand it.
You're not always going to be someone's cup of tea, but let me tell you, you're going to be somebody's big bottle of water or something.
Ooh, they call drink.
That thirst, yes.
They call drink of water. There's a short glass, but they call drink of water.
Yes, and water will quench that thirst quick, fast, and in a hurry.
VLM says, I was on OkCupid and liked so many guys, but none of them liked me back. And I mean none of them. And my self-esteem took a bit of a hit. I can see why. I'm not ugly, but damn. I'm worthy of at least a chat. And that's exactly it. Don't let them have you feeling otherwise. Don't let them have you doubting yourself. Don't let them have you feeling like you're less than anybody else because they're not giving you a chance. If anything, remind yourself that they're the ones missing out on how awesome you are. And I've said this before, but I feel like a lot of us who are plus size have done a lot of work on our personality and stuff to make sure that we have a lot more to offer because we know that people will devalue us based on our looks. And again, it's not that we ugly or whatever, because shoot, but if we feel like our strongest suit or whatever is not our physical appearance, that motivates us more to work on our personality. We're funny, we're charming, we're smart, we're able to hold intelligent conversations and all that. But if we never get past the no fatties, please, then how will they ever know? And again, maybe they don't deserve to know if that's how they feel.
And they just have a lot more to love. That's it.
Who's working in their late 40s? A lot of people. You are a queen deserving of a king. That's right, Vicky. You tell her. And I hope y'all know it. Mm-hmm. But it comes a bit
you
much
gotta
when...
know it first. That's the thing.
It becomes a bit much when rejection is constant. I feel you. I feel you. As amazing as I feel like I am, and as much of a catch as I feel like I am, if somebody was telling me left and right all day long, or multiple people, I kept swiping past this, I can understand how it'll be a hit to your self-esteem and your confidence to feel like, well, damn, none of them want me. Maybe there is something wrong with me. For sure. Don't be feeling that way, though, because it's not. But there's just this conditioning that people are being told to be anti-fat. It's true. And we know for a fact that a lot of guys will try to creep around in private with someone that they don't want to be with in public. Mm-hmm. So we know that the fat girl is starting his engine, is getting him all fired up and getting him all revved up. Meanwhile, he's got a skinny mini wife at home who doesn't excite him as much, but he won't marry the fat one. He'll just cheat on his skinny wife with her. You know what I mean? So don't feel like there's anything wrong with you. It's society that's the issue.
And that's another thing with the online dating. They're only seeing you. They're not talking to you, getting that conversation, knowing that you're confident, knowing that you are that person. And that's goes back to what I was just saying. You will attracted physically to somebody, but you talk to them and it's like, he's trash. Mm-hmm. That person is trash. And then someone that you didn't feel so physically attracted, when you talk to them and boop, 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 they go up the scale in your compatibility, or, the way you feel about them, it changes. So that's another thing about online dating. Like they do it based on your look, and looks are not everything. So maybe online dating is probably not the way to go. To be honest, unless you go on a site that's, for, big girls, the fluff is the best. Something they can create.
Is that a site? No, I'm kidding. But that's the thing too. And what we hear about these sites is that there are a lot of men creeping there to find bigger women because they think we're insecure and easy. See? And they think that they don't have to work as hard to get a big girl as they might have to work to get a baddie or whatever. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they target us with that in mind, thinking that they're going to have an easier chance. Or they fetishize us and it's a sexual thing only, and they don't really want. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, you can't win for losing. You just don't know what to do. Right. But again, if people aren't meeting out and about the way they used to, like, what are your other options?
You walking down the street, they honking a horn, like, come over there, like, I'm gonna pull over around the corner, meet me, we exchange numbers, whatever. You get to see that person first, and again, they come to you because of your looks,
Then again, we were raised in Brooklyn, so in New York, men are a lot more forward. Yes. Men are a lot more open to women of all kinds, all shapes, all sizes.
They love the fluff.
They love everything, okay?
The fupa and all, girl, yes.
And all. They love the fupa-licious queens, okay? So that's the different dynamic as well. It could be regional for you. It could depend on where you are. I know that So Sassy, I don't know if she's in here tonight, she was telling me that she's given up on dating, especially in Atlanta. And when you think about the kind of reputation that Atlanta has as far as the way the women look and what the strip clubs are like and the big industry there where everybody has a fat booty and a perfect body, it can be really tricky to find someone who's going to look past that kind of thing and to have more options, I would say. It can be tricky. And if you're in a small town where there's only so many people, or where there's a certain standard or a certain look that people have to have, it can be really tricky. If you're looking for a man, though, I tell you, go to Brooklyn. I can't say that they're going to be a quality man. I can't say that you're not going to have your heart broken. Can't say you'll find many of options just walking down the street, sis. Just walking down the street.
And you walk past them and they just grab your arm, like, and it's like, what the hell?
Some of them are mad forward. Like you said, you're walking down the street, you just hear the horn beeping, beep, 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 because they saw something they like. And now all of a sudden, that's how y'all met, and y'all can build something off of that. But these days, things like that don't happen as much. Again, unless you're in New York. And it could depend.
It still happens out there for
It still happens out there. And it does depend on like your circle and stuff. Like if you don't go out to the bars or to the clubs or whatever, you may not meet as many people. If you go to work and then school and then home, those are your options. Ain't nobody at your house to meet, so you either meet them at work or at school, and those can be problematic too. Or if
Mm-hmm.
you go to the bar, you might be concerned that they only want to hook up or something or looking for a one night stand. So it's tricky. And Super Philly Chick says, I'm scared to go on dating sites. I watch too much 48 hours.
We were talking about that earlier.
We were talking about ID, that
Yes.
investigation discovery channel that has like all those murder shows, and like people end up going missing. You never. It's
On the
so
first date,
tricky.
it's like, oh my gosh.
It's so tricky. You meet up with someone who seems to be nice. Turns out he's serial killer number 3 or whatever. Like, you don't want that. So it's even harder. But there are men who say they want a woman who is XYZ, and then I feel I meet that criteria. And when I respond, I get nothing back. It's tricky. It's real tricky. Because, again, people are, when it's online, there's only so much you can know off the bat. There's only so much. And then there's also the potential of them talking to the other 10 women that they were swiping, right? Swiping left. I don't know which one. Somebody fill me in. The other 10 women that they were swiping on and that
Usually,
they're DMing with.
Well, I don't
Do you know which way it is?
I don't know. I will assume right is right. Like the
Right is a good one.
Yeah. That's my assumption.
Again, I'm tempted to get on.
left because you see the commercial and like swipe left. Like
I don't know. The only
I
swiping
don't
I do is with Candy Crush, and I haven't played that in a long time, so I don't know. But I'm tempted to go on just to investigate. Should we do that for like a video? Like I get on there and start spying and looking at profiles and stuff.
did anybody in here ever like date at work? Because I've had spoopalicious. Because I had so many options with the jobs that I've had in New York, and never. I mean, I would hang out with coworkers and stuff like that, but I would never take them up on a dating kind of I want you to be my girlfriend kind of stuff. I don't see it happening only because if we mad, if we break up, if we argue, whatever, and I gotta see you at work though, like I don't think that's gonna go over well.
It's true. And then with potential like sexual harassment concerns and things like that, it can be really messy and it can endanger your like your safety in the workplace and you feeling like it's not a hostile work environment and stuff like that. So it can be tricky. But I know for me, most of what I was doing was I'd go to work, I go to a grocery store, and I come home. Like sometimes I go out on the weekend with my girlfriends, and like before quarantines and all this, like I might go out on the weekend or something. But in those environments where you're at a bar or at a club or at a concert or something, oftentimes that can feel like a very like hookup culture type of interaction where it's like, hey baby, you so beautiful, you coming home with me tonight? And it's like, what's your name again? Like I don't even know who you are. And no, I'm not trying to end up on first 48, like it's so tricky. So yeah, I feel you. I have a 65-year-old man who is a straight up freak in capital letters that I'm talking with, but I don't know if anything else will come of it. Hey now, if that's what you like, you better FaceTime, Zoom, Duo, pigeon these folks before you meet. Hello.
Yeah.
I think we're a little behind because they're talking about the silver foxes.
Oh, yes.
Point. So we're behind on the chat. Sorry, y'all. All right. Uh-oh.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you're in the middle of a relationship and that's just your exclusive dating buddy right now, I don't see nothing wrong with that, girl. Go ahead and get your freak on.
And VLM, again, we're a few minutes behind. So this comment says, I'm in Minnesota. It's very challenging to date as a plus-size Black woman here and to find a decent Black man. It's tough. And I will say, we lived in San Diego for a very long time, almost 2 decades. And one of the things in California that we encountered, I mean, she was still in her relationship, so
it wasn't whatever. 2 decades. You be exaggerating.
I was out there for 17 years.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a long time. A lot of the men in California would say, like, I don't date Black women, even if they were Black men. They're like, yeah, I don't date Black women. So you see a lot of interracial couples with Black men and a non-Black woman, which I have no problem with. But it's like, if you're not dating me because I'm Black and because I'm plus size, like, who is going to date me or what are my options? And so I know a lot of Black women are talked badly about if we date outside of our race, or maybe that's not our preference. But if we're having a hard time finding men in our race or men who we do like to date, then it's like, who's left? What are the other options? Girl, don't be single ever, okay? You don't want none of this.
And there are in San Diego, there were a lot of mixed race couples, same sex too, always like mixed race, yeah.
Yep.
It's next
New
level.
York City is next level. It's so true. If
you
ever
can never go without a man in New York, let me tell you.
Go to New York, you'll get one. Again, it may not be good, but I mean, he may not be good. He may have 5 other ladies, but
yes, always a bad idea dating a coworker. They agree. Yes,
it's not a great idea, but unfortunately, like that's one of the ways people have to meet because it's one of the places we spend most of our time. Like we're at our jobs if we're full time, at least 40 hours a week.
But then, Nika, you don't want to have y'all get to that level where y'all move in together. Y'all see each other at home and y'all see each other at work. I'm tired of seeing you.
I get tired of people quickly, so I feel
tired, you. Okay? Especially if we fighting. Nah, but you have to move.
I feel you. You have to move. One of my last employers, there was very much a culture of dating within the company, and everybody was doing everybody. And it was very apparent in the workplace. See? Like, I don't know your home life, but I know that yesterday you and him were all coupled up at the lunch table. And then next week you're going to be with a different guy coupled up over there. And there's going to be issues in the workplace because of it, you know? Everybody was sleeping with everybody there. And it was so toxic and so tricky because then people would have these big falling outs and then it's affecting their work performance because they work in the same department and you still got to see the person every single day. And he knew that you were with the other guy last week because we all saw it. But now you with him, or we know that he's really married and you're here with him at lunch. Girl, it was messy.
Okay.
It was messy.
And I bet you everybody be all up in their business. Whispering, oh,
they had their business all up in the workplace.
Workplace is not for that.
They had their business all up in the workplace. But again, when we spend most of our time in these spaces,
right?
Like
I can see that, but I don't think I'll ever do it. Good thing I got a man. That's not gonna work. Cause right, yeah.
Tell him to watch his health and live forever. Like don't ever leave. Right. Don't ever leave me. Let's see what other comments we got.
Than anyone at work, and I can't. Yeah.
Okay, so we caught up on comments here finally. It can get real complicated, and you don't want a like physical or romantic relationship to jeopardize your livelihood. You know, your bread and butter, what's helping you to survive and make a living. It's tough enough in this world these days, especially in this country with everything going on. It's hard enough already. So be real careful if you ever end up dating someone that you work with. But of course, when you spend a lot of your time there and you get to know people, or y'all hang out after work, or y'all go out for happy hour, and like people become more familiar. And sometimes that is where the love connection forms.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's like if you don't go places or don't do things outside of your home or outside of school or outside of work or whatever, where do you find these people? They're not going to come knocking on your door.
Just go to New York, guys. That's how you'll find them.
So, moral of the story.
On the train, on the bus, okay, in a taxi cab, maybe. I don't know, but you'll find one.
It's honestly, it's really not hard out there. Again, I can't guarantee the quality of the man. Because some of them be playing games or they be, what's the word, F-boys and all that stuff. Yeah. Like, you got to be careful. Yeah. Hey, Heavens girl. Yes, getting your honey and money in the same place can be complicated.
What they say, you don't shit where you eat. That's what they say.
It's true. We had a guy, I interviewed a guy once who used the phrase in the interview that you don't stick your pen in the company's ink. And we were like, oh, okay, not appropriate for the interview, but glad that you feel that way.
Wait, was that really what he was saying?
That's what he said. He literally said that in the interview.
But is that what he meant? Like,
that's literally what he meant.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we had an office of all women at that point, and he was a male candidate, and he would have, if he was hired for the job, he would have been the only man. So we asked the innocuous question. So how would you feel about that? Like, we don't have anything against men in the office. We just happen to not have any. but would it make you feel some type of way? And yes, he should have kept that comment to himself. It was a good one for like casual chat, but not for an interview. We're like, all right, pen in the company ink. Like, all right. Like, so yeah.
Wow.
It's a good policy, but again, you should probably think it and not say it if you're in a professional environment. But yeah, it's definitely tricky, and I don't know where people meet each other these days other than online. I think it does have amazing potential, and I think Facebook recently started like a dating portion of it. Have you seen it popped up? I've seen like a little notification or something pop up like Facebook dating or whatever. So everybody's getting into the dating scene these days, all the apps and all these places that people are connecting. Lots of folks are meeting here, there, and everywhere, as we see on Catfish all the time in the DMs and this and that. There are dating phone chat lines. We talked about that. Do they still have them? Because we were talking about how back in the, we don't want to give our age.
90s.
No, I give my age all the time, but back in the 90s, there were those lines that you call in and you have the date line that you could talk to somebody live and direct.
And they get attracted by your name. I was telling her, I used to call myself Rough Rider. I'd be like, who up in here? This Rough Rider in here, whatever. And then they always say who they are. And then people be trying to like, you know, like when you press whatever button to go into the chat one-on-one. Yeah. They get it. They used to go by your name. If you have like a good name.
Haifa says what? Those exist.
It used to. I don't know if it still do, but it used to. Yes.
Yeah, according to BLM, they're still around. I didn't know that.
Me either.
I mean, there's people are meeting each other in all kinds of ways, and the more virtual we get, the more it's becoming less personal. Like one-on-one, we'll pass a bunch of potential candidates, so to speak, potential love interests at the grocery store, and then go home and log on to Tinder and meet all these strangers that we don't really know who they are, what their intentions are. Of course, at the grocery store, you can't tell that much about somebody either, other than what's in their shopping cart. But it's a little bit more personal to have the face, you know, to see the face in front of you, to meet the person in person, and to be able to have that interaction and vibe off of each other, see what it's like. I feel like it could be so hard to even develop an initial connection and to have chemistry with someone over like the online stuff. Let's see what she said. I still use them, but a lot of guys are just looking to hook up on those sites. Very few are looking for long-term relationships.
No.
Oh, not the sites, but the phone chat lines. Okay. I don't think it's different on the sites and on the apps, honestly. I've never tried online dating. I guess the show Catfish scared me. We were talking about the same thing.
Yes.
You don't necessarily know who you're talking about, but in this day and age, I think there's very little valid excuses as to why someone can't video chat with you. There was one the other day where the girl, she was pretty smart and she was not trying to accept the excuses as to why the guy couldn't video chat with her. So she asked him once to send her a picture of her name written on a piece of paper. And he did. He got a piece of paper. He wrote the name, or at least she got the picture with her name written on a piece of paper. And she was like, oh, he must be real and this and that. Turns out, and I don't want to spoil it because I think it's a pretty recent episode, but turns out it was some random guy who wrote the thing on the paper and took the picture. And it was actually girls that she was being catfished by. It was this whole dramatic thing. The girls didn't like her because they used to talk to the same guy before. So they decided to mess with her, create this whole persona of a guy, found some pictures of him online. And then when it was time to get the picture with the name written on it, they reached out to him and was like, yeah, I'm actually catfishing someone. And we got in too deep. Now we need your help to prove that we are who we say we are. Yeah. He wrote the name on the picture, took it and sent it to them. And I'm like, the lengths that people are going through to deceive and to mislead.
The craziness.
The craziness, indeed. The craziness. I met a guy at Home Depot. Oh, I meet guys at Home Depot, gas stations, market, but nothing that I'm remotely interested in. I have to meet someone face to face. I can pick up vibes, mannerisms, and such. It's so true. And no place is really off limits. The men are everywhere. Like you said, the hardware store, the gas station, they're everywhere. And it is easier to pick up on that stuff off the bat because people can make themselves out to be whoever they want online. And it's really hard to know unless you go deeper And by then, you've invested time and energy and everything into them. And it might make you feel more attached to someone who you would otherwise not even give a second thought. So I think in person is still better. And I think the consensus is that most of us prefer it in person, but it just feels so hard these days. Mm-hmm. It's few and far between that a guy has hit on me in person. But again, it's Minnesota. So black men are less likely to approach. And I've had that experience too, where guys will stare at me and they'll look, but they won't say anything. So I'm like, all right, is there something on my face? Like, what are you staring for? If you're interested, come say hi. If you not, then stop staring at me. What you doing? Like, is there something?
It becomes rude. Like when you stare for too long, not even say nothing. If you're gonna stare, at least smile or at least say hello or hi or something. If not, it's like, bro, stop staring at me. It's annoying.
And I think one of the things I'm hearing a lot more too is that part of this is due to the fact that men are afraid of rejection, like most of us are. Yeah. So they may be more hesitant to speak. Maybe the thing about New York men is that they're so bold that they don't give a damn. They're like, whatever. They're just going to talk to you anyway. But with men being afraid of rejection and the traditional roles changing so much, they feel less comfortable approaching someone and shooting their shot because they're worried that they're going to be turned down or the woman's going to be rude or aggressive or something.
And when you say men are afraid to be turned down, don't want to be turned down, New York, they try to holler at you, oh, shorty, whatever, and you keep on walking and they start cussing you out.
You ugly anyway.
Yes!
That's why you fat. So that's
and
a part of it too.
Okay, but you were just trying to holler though, like, come on, like, be more mature.
That's a part of it too. So all the things that we think we want may not be the things that we want, I used to think for a long time that I wanted to get approached as much as my thin friends did. But when I found out from them what their experiences were, I'm like, ooh, thank God he didn't talk to me. I don't want none of that at all, So it can be validating to know that someone's checking for you and that they're attracted to what they see. But at the same time, count your blessings. Because rejection could be God's protection. It may just be that person is not right for you. That is not someone that you want to get to know. As much as you may be interested in them and they don't show the same interest in return, there could be a reason for that. It could be that you're not seeing the whole picture and that you're better off without them because you don't always want to be.
It's a blessing.
Right. Yeah. And if you are not interested in them genuinely and you turn them down, some men get aggressive. Some of them insult you. Some of them get violent. All kinds of. It's a scary world. So those are arguments as to why you may not want to meet somebody in person. But I guess the same thing happens online sometimes. If you don't comment back quickly enough, or if you don't reply to their DM at all because you're not interested, then they start flooding your messages with hate messages about how they were just giving you a pity chance or whatever because you're not their type and they usually like women who are better looking than you. Like, I'm hearing so many horror stories. I'm like, why do we do this to ourselves? But I'm also curious. It's like, I am so curious that I'm like, I gotta see this for myself. Is this for real? Why do you think some of these guys these days rather text than talk on the phone? I miss those days staying on the phone for hours with your boo.
Yes! You hang up first. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. And then y'all start snoring at each other, like.
Kidding, of course. But I do too. I feel you. And I remember those days vividly where you end up dozing off because the conversation's so good that you don't want to let go, or that you're able to vibe with each other and connect with each other. But these days, the texting culture and the DM culture has taken over. It really has. And it's so hard to form a genuine connection over text and over like those messages because you can't read their tone. You don't know like if they're being aggressive, if they're joking, if they're this, if they're that. People use smileys and LOL like it's going out of style, so you don't really know if what he said was really a joke or if he's being an ass and then putting LOL to make it seem friendly. Like, it's so hard to tell these things over text and over like those kinds of messages. So I feel you. I miss those days too, girl. I don't know what we're gonna do about it, but
you call your man and then it's on voicemail and you just play the song, y'all love song, whatever. Oh man, them days. That don't happen no more.
Yeah, you showing your age more than you think, sis.
Girl.
So anyway, no.
This is the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has changed. And I feel like we are now in that space where we used to hear people older than us like, oh, the good old days and things aren't like they used to be, and now that's us.
Yes,
and we're like, what the hell happened to music? Music ain't like it used to be. Dating ain't like it used to be. Love ain't like
playing outside ain't like it used to. People be on the phones all day now, on computers and on iPads and stuff, always online. We used to be outside playing double dutch.
So now we are the old folks complaining about the young generation. But yes, we used to kill to go outside and sneak out when our mom's not home and everything to go play with the neighborhood kids. Now you can't even do that because, again, 48 hours and ID and everything. Things are so scary and so just dangerous out there these days that you have to be careful.
You know, they used to date neighbors. You know, you date your homeboy up the street. Do they do that anymore? Like, do people on the same block date? Like,
I don't know. Do you know any of your neighbors?
What do you mean? Oh, no.
So that's the thing.
So I guess that's the answer.
I think that's also changed, that whether or not you date them, we've become so detached from our community in certain cases. In some places, of course, it might depend on where you live, that you may not meet the boy next door anymore. Remember, what was that movie? Love and Basketball, where they like grew up next to each other.
Crawling into each other's windows and stuff.
In some ways it's sweet, in some ways it's problematic. But we grew up watching Love and Basketball and stuff where they're neighbors and they grew that friendship and then eventually more than that. But that kind of stuff, I'm not sure it even happens anymore. Right? Plus, we're grown now, right? Like, we're not 17, 18 going off to college. Like, we have bills and responsibilities, and some of us have children and other things to account for that it complicates things. And they don't have a lot of love stories that are realistic about that kind of thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Yep, things are different for sure.
It was definitely easy to find a man back then.
So, here's what you do. You just go to New York, or you get a time machine, go back in the past, and see, easy. We're giving you solutions here. VLM says, I still have those long-ass conversations with guys, but that doesn't usually lead to anything more substantial. Unfortunately.
They're lost. They're lost.
They either just really not interested, but just bored and want to talk and fill up their time, or they say something crazy, or you exchange pics and they don't like your look, or vice versa. Yeah, true. Super Philly Chick says, smile at them. When the guys are staring, I'm assuming you mean? When they're staring at you, smile. Oh, so you know how to pull all the guys. You being eye candy and all that. You give us some secrets.
That's a good one. Just smile at them. But yeah, if you're in a good mood, I guess. But yeah, that's a good thing to do. Smile.
Yeah, I did hear that sometimes they stare when they're looking for an invitation to approach you, that they don't want to be rejected. So they're staring to see if you give them something that gives them like the green light to come over to say something. So if you smile, for example, it gives them the okay to be like, all right, I can go ask her name, or I can go say hello. So maybe, girl, Super Philly, you talk and tell us more.
I have been out of dating for so long, I don't even know that that's what it is for. To me, growing up in New York, people stare at you, it's disrespectful. I don't
want to fight? No,
it's like, disconnect. Unless they say something to you. It says you're lying.
Yeah.
Unless they say something to you, to us it's disrespectful. You don't just stare at people like that. But the times has definitely changed, and maybe smiling at them if you feel like,
if you're interested, if you want to, it's your smile. You don't have to smile unless you want to.
So that's a good tip. Thank you for the tip.
She needs to keep talking. Tell us more. Give us more of your secrets.
You're quiet, but
okay. It can break the ice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Speak. Rejection is potential protection. Hello.
Yes.
I've dodged more than a few bullets, VLM. Okay, I'm telling you. When I hear some of these stories, I'm like, thank God it was not me, because you just never know what people might have in store for you.
Yeah.
Ladies, do you think it's a mindset? Oh, maybe it's a mindset like we're trying to be chosen versus making a choice. That's a good point.
I love that question. And I think so. In the way that they're phrasing what's going on, where they're talking to someone, but then they see the picture and then the person isn't interested. Yeah, it seems like they're trying to be a choice instead of making the choice. Maybe you gotta flip the tables. And I say that to say this as well. I say that to say this too, because I remember times where it'd be, oh, you start talking to someone and you're putting that pressure on. You wanted to go on extra mile, go to the next level, and he's holding back. But then you ease off, and here he comes. He's ready to take that extra step, and you're like, okay, I'm over here. You're trying to meet me where I was, but I'm going another direction now.
Yeah.
So the tables do flip. So yeah, that is definitely a good one.
And it is ideal to be able to be the one making the choice, like I mentioned with that Golden Girls reference. Again, I don't remember all the details, so I hope I said enough to help you get the gist. But we can often be so concerned about who wants us that we don't take the time to ask ourselves if we truly want them, or if we're just trying to not get rejected again. If we just want to know that we still got it and that somebody's checking for us. Because I have been in that position, unfortunately, when I didn't have as much self assurance and when I didn't think as highly of myself as I do now. And I've said this all the time, like, I'm not conceited or anything, but I feel a lot more confident in who I am and what I have to offer than I ever did before. And so now it's not so much like, oh, I hope he likes me and I hope I'm pretty enough for him and I hope that I'm going to try extra hard to show him who I am and make sure he likes me. It's more about like, well, I know I'm likable. I know that I'm willing to show you all that once you prove to me that you are worthy of that. Once you prove that you're likable to me. Right. But just feeling like in these situations with these apps and stuff where we feel like we're less desirable than a lot of other women, it can put you in that position where you're trying to prove your worth just to get some kind of play out of somebody. If they're not if what you're showing isn't bringing the boys to the yard, then you feel like you have to work harder to try to attract somebody and to even get them to give you a chance. And no one wants to feel that way, but I feel like the dynamic kind of puts you in that position, unfortunately.
If they turn in a blind eye on you, you say, he's not my choice. Just turn it around. Like, I'm not sure who said that comment, but it was very valuable. He's not your choice.
Boom, bang, pow.
You're not my choice.
You don't choose me, no, I don't choose you. It's like with those shows where it's like, you're firing me? No, I quit. Like, it's all about mindset. All right, most men think they're the prize, not the woman. It's true. Do you ooh, Vicky, somebody asked if you think women should shoot their shot. All right now. Found out a guy who stood me up ended up being on house arrest. Child, I was so happy. I feel you. See, that's the reason why he couldn't make it up, right? Oh no. I've had a few guys in jail or in a group home try to holler too. No thanks. And it's like there's somebody out there for everybody, but there's probably a reason that didn't work out because it sounds like they weren't for you.
Nope.
All right.
They were not your choice. Okay.
Right. All right, let's see. I think we're back to being a few minutes behind. It's hard because we're conditioned, but you know what? Why not? I don't even know. Haifa says, I don't even know my neighbors, to be honest. To be honest,
right. Back in the day, you used to know your neighbors. You used to hang out with them, go to movies, chill, But nowadays, you really don't know. I guess you just get older and the things have changed.
Right. And I haven't seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix. Have you seen that? That they have a movie/documentary type thing out talking about the effects of social media, how they've designed it, what effect it has on all of us. I haven't watched it. Is it good? Have you seen it? Let us know. I think a woman can approach a man without giving off desperate and thirsty vibes. Teach us how, please. All right. If they stare, smile back, and word hi. Ooh, you better flirt. You smile with them, smile with the eyes. Yes. And these days, now we're wearing masks outside, right? So can you smile and have it be something that's easily picked up? I know when I smile, my eyes scrunch up a bit because my cheeks, so I don't know if it shows, but I find myself smiling at people and then I feel silly. I'm like, do they even know that I'm smiling right now or am I just wasting my time? Oh, Super Philly Chick says, I know how to pull them, just haven't found someone who stimulates me. I feel you.
Smile back. Instead of frowning.
Yeah, smiling does work instead of acting like I don't see them.
Yeah.
If they appear decent, right?
As you get older, your mindset would change about people staring at you. But like I said, growing up, it was like, okay, don't stare at me. It's rude.
Unless you have
Right.
something to say, or unless you're, you know, you've shown that there's some interest, but don't just stare and don't say anything. That is rude. Not necessarily in an aggressive, like fighting kind of way.
Hmm.
Although in Brooklyn it was kind of like that. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
what you looking?
Yes.
We've come a long
But
way,
as
you
you get older,
guys.
you're right. Smiling, because sometimes I just look back and I'm like, you know,
Or
like
it
no.
can feel awkward. You catch
Right.
somebody's eye as you're scanning the room and they're staring. You're like, oh, like you didn't necessarily expect it. And so, I know for me, one thing that happens instinctually is my eyes kind of divert away. Like, oh, they're looking at me. Like, oh,
Right.
and
You look
then
back and you're like, they're
right,
still looking.
like, and so smiling wasn't necessarily the first instinct, but that's a good to. And look, so
Yeah,
simple,
that is a great tip.
so
I mean,
simple.
maybe I'll start. But then that's the thing. You smile, they feel invited, but then I'm taken. You know, so I don't want to smile and have them feel like it's thing. Maybe I can just smile and walk away. Would
Right.
that be awkward for them? They'll probably be like,
Right.
"This was crazy."
Because that's the thing too. Now, if you smile at someone who's staring at you, do they
Hmm.
think you're inviting them to come
Right.
over
Right.
when your boo, like you and your boo, are secure and you're not looking for anything else? And then would they feel like you're leading them on?
Hmm.
Because I don't know, it's complicated.
Yeah.
There's rules to it, but no real rules, honestly. So who knows
You
what
just
the
go with
right
the
and
flow
wrong thing to
nowadays.
do
Yeah.
would be. And then, so Super Philly Chick said she hasn't found someone who stimulates her with great qualities, morals, and standards, and really single and established. The really
Hmm.
single part is one of those things that confuses me more and more these days because so many folks are in a relationship and still entertaining people outside of it.
It's complicated. That's what they say. Like, okay, what do you mean by
Or
that?
she's his roommate. Meanwhile, they have a whole family at home and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So it's so tricky. I've been single for 2.5 years and I'm healed and whole and ready to meet someone, but not willing to
Yay.
settle. I feel you.
Yay. Do not settle.
I
Do
feel
not
you.
settle.
And for those of us who are not yet feeling healed and whole and ready, I think it is important to hold off on
Yes.
dating and to wait until we are.
Hmm.
Because, and I'm sure Super Philly Chick can tell you a lot more about this, but there's something about knowing that you're ready and knowing that you are a whole person and not leading with your insecurities and leading with your fears and all those like issues that make you feel desperate, because we were talking about
Hmm.
that earlier too, where if you're looking for someone and you are just so interested in finding someone to latch onto, it can give off that air of desperation, and then that makes you more of a prey for people who are trying to use you or take advantage of you
Right.
because they know that you're so willing and so desperate, for the lack of a better term, to find someone,
Hmm.
that you're much more willing to sacrifice your morals, your values, your standards in order to just take whatever you can get. And those never end well. Those situations never end well at all.
And I like that people are finding the time. I'll find that it's best to like take time for yourself, know yourself, gain your confidence and everything. I love that people find time for themselves because
Mm-hmm.
it definitely needs it, and it brings you whole again to get out there and be confident and know what you want and not settle, you know. So a lot of times, and then there's some people out there that just can't be by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They can't, like, you know, they just want to jump into another relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they feel lonely. I don't know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
but taking time for yourself is definitely a plus, because then you're ready for that next relationship and you know that he's going to be your choice. You're not going to be his choice. Make him your choice, okay?
Or both, ideally.
Oh,
Both.
make each other's
Right.
choice. Yeah, but don't
Both.
always try to, you know, say that, oh, he don't want me. No, you don't want him. He's not your choice.
It's
Period.
true. It's true. And again, I will admit that in the past, there have been times where I was so focused on just finding somebody, anybody, that I would sacrifice what I wanted. Like, I would realize that I was so hung up on this person that I didn't even like. Like, to be honest with you, I did not even like who they were, but I was just so happy to have someone around. And when I look back, it makes me feel sad for my old self. I'm like, damn, girl, like, those were some of the best years of your life if you're looking at society's standards and stuff, when you're in your young 20s and stuff like that. Like, those were some of the best years of your life, and you gave those away and wasted those with losers who you would not even give a second thought at this point. but because you didn't know your value and your worth and you were just desperate to find somebody, anybody, to make you feel good about yourself, to finally get approached by someone or whatever, that was so validating that I sacrificed so much of what I really wanted in order to hold on to that. And it's sad.
And women shouldn't be afraid to speak to a man. Someone brought that up in the comment. Don't be afraid to speak to a man. It doesn't mean that you have to be the one to ask him on a date or anything, but you can converse with him if it's someone who you think could be a potential. You know, you can go up to them and talk to them, hold that conversation, become friends first. You know, don't be afraid to do that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, just don't be the one to propose. I mean,
oh my goodness, that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Do y'all think that women can be the ones to pop the question to their boo when they want to get married? Whole nother conversation.
Yes.
And about your smiling and then walking away, Vicky called it drive-by smile. That's funny. All right. Clap, clap. Okay. Time needs to be definitely taken between relationships.
Yes.
Yes, you never date out of necessity and desperation.
When you will show us how tying shirt by sleeves. I think that's for a fashion video, though. I think she said that she would do it in another video when she does her fashion hauls and stuff.
I did not even know that person was still there. I mean, I'm glad that you're still watching, but that's not going to be in today's video, unfortunately. How do we change the narrative of you need a man? Interesting.
Didn't we talk about earlier that when you saying we don't need men?
Snap. No, let me stop.
Change the narrative of you needing a man.
It's definitely easier to come from a place of like strength and security in yourself when you don't need one. Although, and a lot of people might disagree with this, because if you're able to support yourself financially, if you're able to satisfy yourself in any ways that you might need satisfying,
toys.
I'll put it that.
Sorry.
And I talked about this a little bit in my last video about being happy and single at the same time. It was a throwback video that I filmed a while ago, actually, when I was still engaged, which I thought would be interesting, which is why I posted it and I didn't refilm it. Because even when I was engaged, there were a lot of things that I could see about single life that I was like, it's really not that bad, y'all. And now that I'm single again, a lot of my thoughts haven't changed, you know? So if you can support yourself financially, you can satisfy yourself with toys, apparently. Or however you do it.
Men do it with lefty and righty.
And so do a lot of women. And if you're able to get the stimulation and the connection and the intimacy in other ways, like conversations and stuff like that, then it is a lot easier to feel like you can want a man and want a relationship without feeling dependent on it or reliant on it. So in that way, you don't have to feel as desperate for it, or you don't have to feel as bad about it if you don't have that, because you have other things to fill those voids. And so, of course, being single is not always ideal for us if we feel like we're missing those things. And there are things that, Lord, I don't want to get X-rated. There are things that a man and that you with a partner can do that you and a toy can't necessarily recreate, you know? So there's still things to be said about having a partner, of course. But in the absence of that, I think that it allows you to be a bit more selective and a bit more choosy with who you end up with, rather than feeling like you just have to take whatever you can get because you need one so bad and you're waiting for one of them to pay some bills, or you're waiting for one of them to satisfy you sexually, which they say that something like 80+% of women are faking it with their partners.
Yes.
In order to make the partner feel happy and secure and to not make him feel like he doesn't know what he's doing, even though he may not know what he's doing. So, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation too. Let me know if y'all be interested in like a let's talk about sex type thing, because there are a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to keep it clean and not X-rated, but my sister's already dirtying up the whole channel anyway. Right. So let me know if y'all be interested in that kind of stuff. But there are things that would make single life easier if we did not need a man as much, you know? So I don't know if that's what you meant by that question, Heavens Girl, but let me know if it's not. I put it this way: I don't need a man, but I desire slash want a partner.
Right.
I'll never be so desperate for just a pair of pants.
Period. You got your own pants, right? Mm-hmm.
It makes a huge difference. I feel so empowered. By the way, I appreciate your October vlogs, confidence boosters. It's another added tool for my self-awareness journey.
Yay, Nika.
Thank you, boo. Thank you. I'm glad you're liking it. I know it's very different, and I hope you don't get tired of seeing me and hearing the same phrases over and over again and that kind of thing. But I thought it'd be helpful for some folks because it is definitely a powerful activity. So I hope those of you who are not participating aren't getting tired of it. We will be going back to some like regularly scheduled programming after October is over. But I'm also thinking about like revamping the whole channel and just switching things up entirely. So definitely let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you're interested in seeing and what you, yes, sis, toys. Don't encourage her. Don't encourage her.
I'm telling you.
But yeah, let me know what you want to see and what you think I can help you with and what I can offer. And I'm happy to make content about it. I think gender roles changes factors in. Women have evolved a lot, not to bash men, but I like to think, no, excuse me, but like I think we are changing and they can't keep up or are still trying to figure out the power dynamic.
Yeah.
I feel you. And again, sorry for butchering y'all comments, trying to read and do all this at the same time. I agree with you on that, Vicky. I feel like I see a lot of women doing work on themselves and trying to make themselves the best potential partner they can be ready to heal, to be whole, like Super Philly was saying, to do all these things, especially in spaces like ours where this is what we talk about, this is what we strive for. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm just not seeing the conversations with men because maybe they keep it amongst themselves or maybe it's in private or I don't know. But I feel like I'm seeing a lot more women do the work than the men. And so if they're still worried about the power dynamics rather than meeting us where we are, the way that we're trying to meet them where they are in this new world that has changed with the gender roles that have transformed, it's like we're working for nothing. Like we're all going to be healthy, well-formed women waiting for men who are never going to be ready for us.
And sometimes being too independent, well, I don't think there's nothing as being too independent, but being independent can turn men away. They get like, I don't want to say scared, but it makes them feel like
intimidated, right? Like they say they're intimidated by you or something.
Right. That's, yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky. Like you said, from my perspective, we don't think independence is a bad thing. And I don't think they want anyone who's completely dependent on them. So I don't think that their problem is even independence either, or women being independent for that matter. But there's just a big disconnect.
Another thing I noticed too is in today's day and age, being that women have to be so independent and not try to depend on the men like they used to back in the day. Some women are just like, they have it set out what they want to do. I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna do this, that, get my PhD, doctorate. That's years in school, and then I'm gonna focus on getting a man, getting the babies. But your clock is ticking, boo. Like you probably can't have kids because for whatever reason. Well, probably can't because you can pay to get whatever you need to get done.
These days, there are options,
right? But then you done missed out on the man that could have been that person. You know what I mean? Right. So they focus on getting where they plan on being, which ain't nothing wrong with that because you do what you want to do. But then don't turn around and regret it because you missed out on having a family. You missed out on having that good man. Right. You missed out on all this stuff because you're gonna be working because you're just getting into the job because you're out of school. Are you gonna have time to spend with this man now? How old are you now? Are you gonna be able to travel before you guys have kids? Are you gonna be, you know what I mean? So it's like you look back and then you're like, oh my god, I wasted so much time. It's not a waste of time because you needed to get that independence. However, was it worth like putting everything else on the back burner, not even dating while you're doing that, not even, so it can really be complicated.
It really can, but then if you think about the flip side of that, right? Let's say you don't go to school or you don't pursue those dreams because you're hoping to prioritize becoming a wife or having a family or finding a partner, and he never comes around, or you keep meeting the F boys who aren't up to no good or who don't really want anything serious. Meanwhile, you're delaying your hopes and your dreams for them.
You don't have to
so it's like you don't necessarily know.
You don't have to put one thing over the other. They can be side by side. Because if you have a man along the way with you that's supporting you, amping you on, yes, babe, you're going to do it. Let's do, you know what I mean? What? That's gold.
That would be amazing. That's amazing. I don't see any problem with that.
That's gold.
But ladies, tell us if you've encountered that. Like, I haven't. Obviously, men like that exist, but I haven't seen it. No, let me stop. I'm kidding. Not to say that I haven't seen it. It's just that they're harder to come by. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you're focused on your goals and on your hustle and when you're busy and this and that, it can be hard to make time for someone. I was thinking about it recently because of this Vlogtober thing. I'm releasing videos every single day, which means filming, editing, posting, doing all this, and then repeating the next day. If I were dating someone, I don't even know if I'd have time to talk to them. Like me having also a daughter and having to prioritize her, spend time with her, not neglect her just because I'm doing videos and stuff. If you're so into something that you're passionate about and that you're working hard for, if you're in college and it's demanding, if you're on the PhD level of things, or if you have a really good job that demands a lot of your time, it can be hard to feel like you're able to prioritize all those things evenly and equally. And some men will start to resent either your job or your school or your life if they feel like you're not making enough time for them or something.
That's true, because some men can feel unwanted. I think that came up in the conversation earlier too, like you don't want them. But then if you have that man, say for instance, you're doing Vlogtober, I think, and that man is there filming you. He's there helping you edit the stuff.
Ow.
Like, I mean, isn't that so much better? It's still spending time, you know?
Where he at those, sis? Send him come.
For example.
And so,
you know, that would be like a man that you like, oh damn, we're going through this together. You know, we're gonna get this bag together.
That'd be nice.
It would be awesome.
That'd be nice. But let us know if you've encountered some of those men, ladies. All right. Bob, battery operated boyfriend, Bob. Got it.
Tusk and Chewy. Stop one from being desperate in my
That's right. It's true. Oh, you think it'll be a great topic? All right, 2 words. Magic wand. Don't stop. Tell us more, okay?
Yes.
That's so funny. And yes, Super Philly Chick, I know that you are there every single day. I know that you're one of the real ones, and I appreciate you, boo. You don't know how much that means to me. All right.
Behind in terms of I still feel like I have to work much harder to feel respected and equal in a relationship.
It's true. I do agree that the dating sites do show us that in action, that a lot of men are behind in those ways. What I'm hearing is that a lot of them spend not spend, but they use the space in their bio to tell you about what they want from you. So where it's like your bio where you're supposed to say, oh, I'm Nika, I'm this and that. They're like, I want is exactly, I'm looking for this, must be this, better not be that, don't want this. Meanwhile, they ain't tell you nothing about themselves. Mm-hmm. They're just telling you what they expect and require of you. And they're expecting you to show them and to measure up to their standards without them ever giving you even an inkling of what they're like, or that they're worthy of you. You know, they think that you're the one who's supposed to put your best foot forward to impress them rather than them putting an effort to impress you.
That's crazy. And that's when you say, you're not my choice.
Deuces, and you swipe whatever direction means bye. Boy, bye.
My choice.
There is a balance. All right, to be independent, but don't give out masculine energy. Ooh, because you can hold your own. Have to make room for the man to be a man. Yeah. Interesting, and I hear that a lot, but there's a lot of definitions that have to take place there, right? Like, what do you consider to be masculine energy? And does everyone have the same definition? When you say leave room for a man to be a man, does everyone think the same thing about that? Does that mean like changing the oil and pumping the gas like my sister used as an example earlier? Or does that mean being the one you turn to for help and making him feel strong and manly and, oh my goodness, I can't open this jar. Can you open it for me? You know, like, what does that mean? Everyone's going to have their own interpretation of that. So I agree.
Let's see what they say a man means. Because my definition of a man is you got balls. Well,
Ooh.
you got an instrument that
Oh, an
we don't
instrument.
have.
All right.
So let's see what they define a man as, because I'm curious.
And Vicky says we need to give each other space to grow individually and stop the foolishness about expecting a dependent woman. That's a partner, exactly. What do you guys think about friends with benefits situation? Is it degrading for women to agree to that situation? Ooh.
An adult male is what a man is. And this is dictionary.com, okay? An adult male person. So,
and even that leaves a lot of room because I know a lot of man boys who are supposed to be adults who are our age or older who are still expecting us to raise them like we're their mama. Like they don't necessarily have their act together. They're not in the position to leave a damn thing, to lead a damn thing, including themselves. They have trouble getting their own lives together, but I'm supposed to submit to you when you don't even know what you're doing? I mean,
here's another one. A male having qualities considered typical of men or appropriately masculine.
Appropriately masculine. Again, this leaves a lot of room
right.
for interpretation.
It sure does.
And so I'm not trying to get too specific, but it matters because what one man might think is him being a man to another person won't mean that. And to the woman, she might interpret that in a whole different way. So.
And no shade, because there's some men out there that's as feminine as women. So I don't know. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. I guess it'll be something that people can just really sit down and figure it out on their own or with their partner. Like, you do this, I do that.
Right.
We good. I
right.
don't know. In terms of
the friends with benefits. I want to write that down. I like that idea.
That should be a whole other.
I feel like that could get real deep, though. We're already 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I see there's still quite a few rocking with us. Are you still good on time? Do you have to?
No,
skate?
But we gonna talk about that today.
I'm not saying we have to. I'm actually gonna write it down as an idea for a future video. That might be a good idea for another live.
Yes.
I was telling a few of you in the comments of other videos that I want to start going live more often. I think that could be fun because I love having the interaction. Posting the videos for you to respond to later is fun, but sometimes by the time I've posted it, I've already forgotten what I said in the video. So I'm reading comments from a week ago that's like, what was that video about again? Whereas it's nice to have the interaction right now. So friends with benefits, to give you the short answer, I personally don't think it's demeaning if it's what you want and if you're getting something out of it. If you're doing it under the pretense of hoping that it develops into more, like into a relationship and thinking that, oh, I'm going to show him that I'm caring, I'm attentive, I'm good in bed, I can cook for him, I can clean for him, and he's going to see my worth and see that I'm worthy of being wifey, then he's going to wife me up. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. As long as you know what you're getting yourself into and you have very clear standards as far as what you want and you're not fooling yourself into thinking it's something that it's not, I think it can be great.
And don't get pregnant.
And don't get pregnant.
Yeah, because you don't want that.
That's probably rule number 1. Don't get pregnant. But just make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. If you're both on the same page, great. If you feel like he's saying he doesn't want anything serious, so y'all are friends with benefits, but then he's treating you the way a boyfriend treats you, so that must mean that he's starting to see you as a girlfriend, that's not necessarily the case. That might just be one of those situations where he's not buying the cow because he's getting the milk for free type of thing. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So if you don't want to have to deal with that sort of thing and getting yourself entangled or into an entanglement, that was the buzzword a few weeks ago. If you don't want to get into an entanglement that doesn't work for you, then be very careful about defining what it means and don't trick yourself or let his actions trick you into something that's different.
Non-existent.
That's non-existent. Because sometimes they will do all the things that a boyfriend does. They'll say all the things that a boyfriend says. They'll reap all the benefits of having a girlfriend because you're so caring, you're so attentive, you're so supportive, they're getting all that. Meanwhile, they will be quick to tell you, oh, we wouldn't have a boyfriend and girlfriend. We wouldn't have it together. Mm-hmm. We agreed this was just a physical relationship. What are you doing? Now you acting crazy because you want me to be faithful to you when I told you that's not what I wanted, even though my actions convinced you that we were something more than we really were.
And make sure something where you guys can have open lines of communication, because also if he's gonna have other girls, whatever, that's probably something that you would want to know. Especially, I mean, if you're
She about
not
to get X-rated
protected,
again.
if he's going in without a hat, you know what I'm saying? Um, so you want to know, you want to be able to know if you're opening yourself to anything. So make sure it's an open line of communication as well.
So don't get pregnant and be safe, because oftentimes with friends with benefit situations, if there are other people involved and you're not wrapping it up, then you can open yourselves up to STDs and pregnancies and all kinds of things that complicate things a lot more.
Yeah.
And no man in this world is worth risking your health or your life for. So just be so careful and make sure that you have your eyes open.
Because some people on birth control, they think it's okay. No. That he can still bring something back to you, girl. Or guy. I mean, either way.
All right, so Vicky has a definition for us.
Okay.
A man is a man if he can handle your energy, will not dull you down for him to sparkle. Like you met me hustling, why do you think all of a sudden it's gonna change? It's true. It's true. Yes. And I agree with that. But a lot of men who like to say things like they're intimidated by certain kinds of women, they expect you to be different or lesser of yourselves in order to make room for him. And I don't think it has to be that way in order to make space for him. Yes, you should actually make space. Yes, you shouldn't be so independent and mighty that you're like, oh, I don't even need you. Like, don't do that. But at the right. same time, just know that you're self-sufficient and you can stand on your own. Right. And at the same time, offer him the space to be who he is and to figure out how he can contribute and bring certain things to the table too. Because none of us, men or women, want to feel like we're not needed or like we're just some random option that the person thinks is disposable. Like,
there's a difference between needing a man and being dependent on a man. That's probably the ones right. that they are getting twisted.
Right.
I don't. Some men probably want you to be dependent on them. I don't know. But needing them and being dependent on them to me is two different things. Because needing them, again, it can be, you guys do y'all figure it out what y'all want to do. You do this, you do that, whatever. But then being dependent on them, it's like they're pretty much doing everything. They're the independent person. You're depending on them to pretty much get everything done. And I don't think a man would want that. And maybe they would. I don't know.
Who knows what they want? That's part of the problem. Right. Like, we don't know what they want. And one of the things I mentioned, I think in the last live, was that in a lot of groups that I'm in with women who are married and stuff, one of the predicaments they find themselves in is that if the man is the sole breadwinner and she's, let's say, a stay-at-home wife or a stay-at-home mom or something like that, and things go bad or take a sour turn, then what happens is that she feels it more difficult to leave the relationship because she has not been earning her own money.
Right.
She does not have her own assets. She does not have her own home. She doesn't have savings of her own or a place to go or a place to turn. So for her, it can keep her feeling like she's tied to him because she's had to rely on him and depend on him for that security.
Right.
And now if he's dogging her out or making her feel terrible or mistreating her, and I could make a whole video about that too. Matter of fact, it's on my list. If he's making her feel like she's not attractive, or he's calling her names, or he's making her feel ugly and unworthy and all this, she may know that it's best to separate herself from him. But without money, without your own career, without your own options and stuff like that, how do you do that? Where you gonna go? And sometimes I feel like men who are bad-minded or who are manipulators and abusers can take advantage of that. They might want you to be the stay-at-home wife so that they can have that leverage on you, the upper hand.
Right.
They know that they can say what they want, they can do what they want, they can sleep around, cheat around, and where you gonna go? You don't have no place to go. I'm all that you have. I'm the one who makes the money. I'm the only one who's ever shown you any sort of like good life financially. And so if you leave, you're gonna be homeless or on the streets with children if you have kids or something like that. So it can be dangerous. Like you said, it's important to know needing someone versus being dependent on someone. But in some cases, people
Merge the two.
Right. They don't necessarily know the difference. VLM says, as far as a friends with benefits situation, if two people are okay with it, then great. I'm over that phase of my life personally, though. I feel you. It can definitely scratch the itch if you feel so inclined, right? Because even Bob, your battery operated boyfriend, doesn't necessarily bring everything that a man might
He
to a
just doesn't talk
situation.
back.
Ooh, that might be a benefit though. Just hush. Some of them make noise though. Some of them get real loud. But either way, like if a friends with benefit situation serves you and you're getting what you want out of it and you're being satisfied sexually and emotionally and they're stimulating your mind and all that, then great. But just don't expect more than what was promised to you. You know, if it's just friends with benefits, don't necessarily think he's gonna be your boo. Sometimes it happens that way, but sometimes we end up getting our feelings hurt and our heart broken. She says it's only degrading to a woman if she feels it is, but with that, then she wouldn't entertain that type of entanglement. Yep. Never dim your light. I'm saying some women don't let the man open doors, pay for dates because they have money. Who said this? Heavens, girl. You know, I'm hearing more and more these days, though, that people are going out on less traditional dates where, like, the man asks the woman out and he pays and everything, and they're expecting either to go Dutch, where, you know, you're paying half-half, or they won't take you out at all. They'll try to do a Netflix and chill thing where they'll invite you over to their house, and that's what they consider to be the date.
If I just met you, we ain't gonna set up one Netflix and chill. You gonna take me out.
Period. And then they're in a lot of men's circles where they're talking about women being evil and users and abusers and all this kind of stuff. It gets real extreme in some of them circles, but I know that there's a lot of talk of some men feeling like they're being used for dates because they're always expected to pay. So there's a phenomenon apparently where, let's say you meet a guy who you're not interested in, you might still allow him to take you out because you're getting a free meal out of it.
Oh.
And then you don't talk to him again.
I've never
And then
that
he
song.
feels, me neither. That's why I'm like, who are they dating where they hear these things or they experience these things, but then they feel like they've been used and taken advantage of, so then they don't want to do that. They won't take you out. They'll make you earn a date, basically, by making you do the Netflix and chill stuff first. And then months down the road, then they'll spend money on you by taking you out on a date or whatever. But then again, a lot has changed since those good old days. I don't know if they were always that good, but since the olden times where it was more expected, I think, for a man to take you out and to be the one paying.
See, because with June and I, whenever we go out on dates, you know, because we still date each other.
They're an old couple, but they didn't lose all the spice. No, let me stop.
We're not an old couple. We've been together a long time. Anywho, whenever we go on dates, like he would text me sometimes, babe, you want to go on a date? Oh yeah. And then when we go, we like, who paying? And I'm like, well, you asked me on a date, so you're paying. And if I ask him on a date, same thing. Or sometimes we're sitting at the table and we're like, okay, rock, paper, scissors. You know, best of three. And then, I mean, it's never a big deal of us, Carol, arguing over who's paying. You ask me, you pay. I ask you,
y'all
I
are
pay.
so sweet. I'm kind of sick of you. I'm about to push her out of the frame now.
Oh, we just do things just for the fun of it, you know? Rock, paper, scissors. You know, best of three, and that's what it is. And sometimes we trying to cheat, but it don't work.
You stay cheating in games and stuff, though. But you know,
yeah, that's what we do. It's not always he has to pay or.
And that's nice. And you guys have obviously built a very long relationship. For those of you who aren't here from the beginning, her and her boo have been together for 18 years now. She has the rock on her. Oh, you're not wearing your ring today. No. She has the rock, like she's the boo. They own property together and stuff like this. So they're pretty established. But for those of us who are either just getting back out there or who have like younger relationships, earlier relationships, or in earlier stages of relationships, I should say, it's a bit different, especially these days. That word entanglement. Ooh, Super Philly Chick says she likes my sister. I refuse to be with a man who wants me to mother him. That's the whole word, sis. You're not dating your mother. I'm a partner. I had to stop talking with one guy who said he's needy and likes to be mothered due to him having abandonment issues. Wow. No thanks. And I'm telling you, a lot of these men out here, the issues they're having are stemming from things like mommy issues, just as much as a lot of women have daddy issues and stuff. A lot of the issues are stemming back to hurt and pain and neglect and mistreatment from way back when, before we were even a thought in their minds. And they're unleashing those things on us, whether they know it or not, and whether we recognize it or not. We're often getting the brunt of these issues that they haven't healed from. And now, since their mama abandoned them or didn't show them the unconditional love they thought they needed or that they deserved, now they're going through life finding woman after woman and expecting that of her. Because damn it, somebody gonna give me that unconditional love that I missed out on from my mama or whatever it is, you know? So lots of issues.
Yeah, back in the day when women were, girls were promiscuous, that's what they would say. She got daddy's issues. She's looking for a man to, all this other stuff. And it's kind of like, why would they try to say that it's daddy's issues that's making a girl promiscuous? Maybe she just loves sex. I mean,
but women always always got the harder side of, what is it, like the harder route. We always got to prove ourselves more. There's always a double standard where we're not always per se, but where we're getting the short end of the stick, you know? So
the shitty end of the stick. It ain't just short, it's shitty.
All right. Go ahead and get me demonetized.
Don't get pregnant. Yes.
A lot of men want relationship benefits without being in a relationship. I've read a few profiles and posts with men expressing that. It's so true.
Yeah.
You want a co-interdependent relationship. There you go. Gotta go. Thank you. Bye, Vicky. All right, let's see. What if a guy refuses to get tested for STDs and keeps saying he doesn't have any? I would say that's a man who you probably should not lay down to sleep with, or don't do anything with him that's unprotected. And I mean anything that's unprotected, because of course STDs can spread in a lot of different ways.
Yes, orally.
And right, sis, just keep getting X-rated, damn it. Like, she's like, orally. I'm sorry, I bumped you. But if he does not feel like, if he does not seem like he values himself enough to go and get checked, it's just a test. It's either peeing on something or getting pricked with a needle. And it's real simple for them to, or taking a swab of something. It's real simple to get tests these days and very affordable. So if he feels like he won't even do that, then imagine how much he cares about your health and your safety. And God forbid you were to contract an STD or something from him, I can almost guarantee you that he wouldn't be fazed, or he'll try to brush it off like it's not a big deal. And this is your health and your life that we're talking about here. Because some of these things do not have cures, do not have treatments, do not have antibiotics or whatever to make them go away. So definitely be wary of that if that's the situation.
Yeah, don't make him your choice.
Girl, don't trust that. It's true. Jeez, I'm biting my tongue. Co-interdependence is different from codependent. It's so true. I've had a few in the past who refused to use condoms and I cut it off. I can't take any chances.
There you go.
Now don't cut it off. Right?
That's a good one, Mika.
Got to use condoms. It's true. Like, and that's the thing. They don't want to wrap it up, but then they don't want to give you the insurance.
Oh, I like the way it feels. Oh, you don't feel nothing when you put it on. No. Okay.
They don't want to give you the assurance that you're safe with them by getting tested.
Right.
And God forbid you turn up pregnant or something. How are they going to behave when that happens? Are they going to be willing to do what?
Step up and be a man.
Right? If that happens, you know what the potential consequences of having sex unprotected are. So are you ready for those potential outcomes? Some people love children and it won't be considered a consequence. But for those of us who may not be looking for it in that situation or with that person, especially stuff like friends with benefits, it's not worth the risk.
And you know there's dudes out there too, Nika, where they would entertain you when you guys are, in the sheets or whatever. And not want to take you,
oh Lord,
and not want to take you nowhere. But then the minute they find out you're pregnant, they don't want a kid. They ready to take you to that chop shop. Like, I just asked you to take me to the pizza shop. You couldn't do that, but
Mm.
you're gonna take me to a chop shop and pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then just cut him off. Of course, you make the decision because it's your body, whether you're ready or not. You make that decision, but he's no longer your choice, or he
Mm.
should not no longer be your choice.
Mm.
You know, yeah,
It all comes down to choices, and I feel like we have more power than we sometimes realize. We're so busy letting a lot of these men either walk over us or dictate the terms of things for us that we don't take our power back. So,
right,
with the guys who say they refuse to get tested and they also don't want to wrap it up, you have a choice to not engage in that if
right,
that's not what you're comfortable with.
right.
Don't let them make you feel bad. Don't let them guilt you. Don't let them make you feel like you're making something of nothing. Some of them be like, oh no, I know I'm clean. I know I don't got nothing. If I did, I would know it. None of my other partners ever came back and said anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you've also been sleeping unprotected with other people.
Right.
First of all.
Thanks for telling me.
So you showing your cards here.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, who knows what you might have going on if you had multiple partners and if they had multiple partners. Think of it this way: every person you sleep with, you're sleeping with everyone they ever slept with. And for some of these men who were hoes and real promiscuous out there, you know what I mean? You don't know who they were dealing with, who she was dealing with, who the other, like, you just don't know. So it's so not worth it. There are other men out there to do it with. If he's not willing to assure you that you're safe and protected while being with him, unprotected, I suppose, and he's not willing to wrap it up, like, it's not worth your time or the risk at all. At all.
Nick, remember that show Ready to Love we saw last season?
Ready to love.
The one in Atlanta where they bring the men, they bring their women, and then they kind of mix and mash, mingle, and
okay, I saw some of that. I didn't see the whole thing.
No, you saw the whole season with me.
It wasn't with
and
you.
Then,
it was with
okay, well,
somebody else. I saw parts of it. I didn't see the whole thing. But anyway, go ahead.
This guy was dating flip-flopping between two girls. Apparently they were kind of friends, like in terms of, you know, talking to each other a little bit here, a little bit there. One of them said they were friends, the other one said they were acquaintances. He left the show with one of the women.
Okay.
On the reunion, he ended up being with the woman that they were cordial with, or whatever, each other, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So on the reunion, he left the one that he left the show with and went with the other one. Mm-hmm. And then the one that he left with, the one that he went with first. Right. She was like, oh, if you kissed him, you tasted my cat. Yes. Okay. And I'm like, that kind of came in my head when you said if you sleep with him, you sleep with all the people
everybody that they slept with.
And it's kind of like, that's real dirty. First of all, for him to do that on national television, and then she turned around and said, "Yo, you kissed him," and I'm like, bro, like, so. Yeah.
I hope there are no children around y'all, because my sister obviously does not care. No, let me stop.
That's what happens.
I mean, but if we're talking about adult stuff, right? Like, this really happens where not only are some people sleeping with multiple folks consecutively and at the same time or simultaneously, sometimes they're doing it all in the same day. You know, like, they start off this morning with one person and then by the night they're with somebody else. Who knows whether or not they wrapped it up with their other partner, what they might be spreading or transmitting or anything. And now with COVID, even, forget STDs, you can't even breathe on somebody without being concerned about stuff. You know what I mean? So just be careful. That's the main thing. And don't do anything that you're not comfortable with. Don't let anybody pressure you to do anything or make you feel like you're making a big deal about nothing, because it's something. And if they don't value their own health enough to go get a swab or pee on a stick or in a cup or something, then they won't care about you when stuff hits the fan and when there's a potential virus, disease, or pregnancy to deal with.
And if that girl did have something, guess what? He's bringing it to that other girl. It's going to be in her mouth.
I agree, and I want a man to display chivalry. They say that's dead, you know. I'm a feminine woman, and I expect to be treated like a lady, as you should. First dates, Netflix. I'm a woman of a particular age, and I want a traditional date, as the kids say, period. Yeah, I mean, the Netflix first dates, I mean, they'll try it. If you let them get away with it, they'll take
Mm-hmm.
you on one too. Well, not
Yes.
take you on one. They'll invite you over or try to come to your house because they may not even have their own place, or they may not have internet, or they may not have Netflix. You know what I
And over
mean?
here, we love women of a particular age because they have a lot of wisdom to share. We love
Girl.
that. So thank
And
you.
we're all becoming that. If we're not yet, we're all going to be
Yes.
one day. And someone said, yes, you can catch herpes even with condoms.
Mm-hmm. And that sucker will flare up. It doesn't go away.
He's prepared to use protection but refuses to get tested. Okay. I
Mm.
mean, well, like someone said, herpes is still one that does not necessarily care about that. And so he still needs to get
Or
tested.
crabs. Remember back in the days, we used to talk about crabs? People used to talk about, in high school, people used to talk about crabs, okay? Yes. Mm-mm. I didn't even know it was like a real crab. I think it is, right?
I have no idea.
Uh,
I remember watching Sex in the City, and one of the girls she was dealing with a younger guy and acting real loosey goosey and having a good time, and she ended up having crabs, and they were like, "Oh my god, like aren't you too old for that?" And I guess she wasn't, because it does not discriminate.
wow.
So true. Your sexual health is part of your annual physical. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
He's more concerned with a possible pregnancy than anything else. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think it would depend on what your status is with this person, right? If they're your boo, I don't think it's too much to expect them to go do that so that you both can feel comfortable. And even if you go together or you show him, like, here are my results, as you can see, I'm clean and you have nothing to worry about, and I want the same assurance, you know what I mean? If he's your boo, I don't think that's too much whatsoever. If he's a casual friend or a friend with benefit or whatever the case is, then you get to decide if that's something that's important to you. If it's something that you require and that will make you feel more comfortable, let him know that, and just be prepared to make a choice based on that. If he keeps on saying no, he's not going to do it, you have the choice, like my sister keeps saying, to either keep him in the picture or no longer choose him. It's entirely up to you, but don't let any of these men or women or whoever have you feeling pressured to do stuff that you're not comfortable with, because apparently women aren't getting off as is
No.
in their sexual relationships if over 80% of us are faking it with someone, you know what I mean? So not only are we getting the short end of the stick there, but now you can't even feel comfortable that you're going to wake up disease free or virus free or something. Like, I don't think that's fair whatsoever. So you have the opportunity to choose if that's good enough for you. If it's good enough that he'll wrap it up and you feel safe and secure and you want to go through with it, have fun, do what you gotta do. But if not, then that means something. Don't put your needs below his. Don't put his preferences above your own. It doesn't have to be that way.
And then also think about it. If he gets you pregnant, remember you want him to take a test, STD test, to make sure he's clean, and he refused to, but he got you pregnant. He'll be the first one to ask you for paternity test, right?
Ooh.
So you're open for that test. You'll jump the hoops to get this one, but you wouldn't just go to a clinic and get that one. Yeah, they make the choices that benefit them. You get what I'm saying? So
he's looking out for him and what he wants. So you look out for you and what you want. And she said he's worried about pregnancy. So apparently they're wrapping it up for that reason. But things still happen. Yeah. People get pregnant using protection all the time.
That's true.
It happens all the time. There's still a % of a % that still gets knocked up.
They be trying to say 1% in terms of if you take the pill, 1%. Dude, he has to have some strong resign.
But I mean,
it happens.
Even still, when you're using condoms and stuff, they break, they slip off, they this, they that. Like, some men try to trap you with the pregnancy type of thing because they don't want you to go anywhere. So they know if you get pregnant, there's an easier chance of you latching onto them and stuff. So either way, all that to say, just be careful. Put your needs first, because it sounds like he's doing the same for him. And there is no reason that he should feel like what he wants is more important than what you want.
Right.
And that's not to say that you can't compromise and find middle ground and stuff. Of course you can. But he's not willing to compromise with you on this, it sounds like. So I don't think you should feel the pressure to compromise and potentially put yourself in a compromising position because of that. God forbid you end up with something or catching something from him that's not treatable or reversible. like, you kicking yourself isn't going to fix it or change it or rewrite history. So just be careful.
Yes. 100%.
100%. But yes, I'm having such a good time. But we just hit 2 hours and 48 minutes on this chat. So I think it's about time for us to sign off and say our goodbyes. Y'all are all so awesome. And I appreciate you being here for this chat, for rocking with us, for conversing, adding more to the conversation. It's always so amazing. So like I said, I plan on going live more often, like in the near future. If you'd like to see my sister again, you gotta let us know this. I'm sure she'll be back if it's by popular demand, so let us know. If there are any other topics you have in mind, I definitely have down the Friends with Benefits conversation. We might start talking about a few more adult type things. I try to keep it pretty PG for the most part, but we're all adults. I got a baby. Y'all know how babies get here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm not hiding anything by acting like the Virgin Mary or anything, you know? So if there are conversations that you want to have, let me know. I'm certainly open to it, whether it's in a live forum or our traditional videos. We'll be back tomorrow with a video for day 18. That's what we're on, right? 18? So tomorrow will be day 18 of Vlogtober. We're going all the way to day 31. Yeah, the 31 days. I'm probably going to be going live on the last day of on the last day of the month. The last day of the challenge will be the 30th. I'm thinking we'll have a nice little celebration on the 31st. Still trying to figure out what to do. I was thinking maybe some giveaways or something. We'll have to see. It's still percolating and brewing up here. We'll see. But I had such a good time. Thank you all so much for being here.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed it. Do the thumbs up thing if you did. Leave more comments and stuff if you have more to say. And otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.
You guys had a lot of good questions, by the way. And not only questions, y'all gave a lot of good tips. So appreciate y'all.
For real, I'm taking notes.
I know, right?
It's like, smile at them, sis.
I
Like,
know.
I gotta start doing it. It's so simple
Yes.
and so easy. Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh, there were comments that I missed.
Oh, were there?
Okay, she was still talking about the wrapping it up and stuff. The fact that he refuses makes us think he has something to hide. Yes, I agree with that. And I'm so glad y'all enjoyed. Thank you for being here. I'll let y'all go now. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Someone said it's nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you too.
It was so fun. Bye, ladies. See y'all tomorrow and in all the other videos and in the next live. Maybe we'll go live again. I can't commit for her, but I was thinking maybe next Saturday I'll go live again. So we'll see. And maybe she'll join me.
Maybe.
We'll see. Anyway, have a great one. See y'all next time.